You're in a 4-minute break. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
To infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
From the palatial yet not overly ostentatious studios of the Infinity Sports Network here in beautiful New York City, sitting on top of the 10th floor of 345 Hudson Street. Welcome on in to what is a Wednesday edition of the Zach Gelb Show across all the great local Infinity Sports Network affiliates, Sirius XM, Channel 375, the free Odyssey app, the iHeartRadio app, and streaming live on YouTube. 888-710-4ISN is the number to jump on in. That's 888-710-4476. You could always get at me on Instagram, where I'm straight flexing, or via the good old cesspool of Twitter at Zach Gelb. That's ZACHGELB. Or you could find me on TikTok at the Zach Gelb Show. Pat Boyle going to join us coming up at 3:40 p.m. Eastern time in his weekly spot. David Pollack, who does a great job covering college football, now working at Believe, and he's a former Georgia Star. He's going to join us at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 p.m. Pacific today. So a whole lot to do, but let's start it off with this news out of Florida when it pertains to Billy Napier. According to USA Today Sports, Florida head coach Billy Napier could be fired as soon as this weekend. Now, I did read the article, and Florida has Mississippi State this weekend. Florida is 2-4, and their only wins this year are up against Texas and then also up against LIU. But Mississippi State is 4-2, and they are home in the Swamp going up against Mississippi State on Saturday late afternoon. Now, in this article, here are some specifics. Florida State Athletic Director Scott Strickland met with the handful of influential boosters Tuesday and was told continuing financial support depends on new direction within the football program. 3 people with direct knowledge of the situation told USA Today Sports. The people who spoke on the condition of anonymity to protect the ongoing process said embattled Florida coach Billy Napier could be fired as soon as this weekend. One thing is certain, Napier won't survive another loss. This, unlike other speculation about Napier's job status, is an important and direct connection to last year's near firing of Napier. It was then that the same Florida boosters are ready to pay Napier's large buyout, but were held off by Strickland and convinced to use that money in NIL space to help Napier build out. The boosters agreed, and the result was a significantly upgraded and talented team. Florida flipped 5-star wide receiver Dallas Wilson, the most talented player on the team from Oregon, late in the recruiting process with the infusion of NIL cash. The money also was used to keep numerous impact players already on the roster from leaving for other schools. The results on the field, however, have been the same. And then here's some details on the Napier buyout and what it would cost to get rid of him now. Napier's buyout, according to a document obtained by USA Today Sports, is approximately $21 million to be paid out in installments of 50% of the money within 30 days of the separation and equal payments of 12.5% annually over the next 4 years. So I think we knew a lot about this from going back to last year. Scott Strickland, there was a lot of pressure on him to get rid of Billy Napier. Now, 2 reasons why I think Scott Strickland didn't get rid of Billy Napier last year. Number one, if they got rid of Billy Napier, they probably would have lost DJ Lagway. Now, looking back on it, that wouldn't have been the end of the world because we thought that DJ Lagway was going to be a special quarterback, and so far, he's been significantly underwhelming as the quarterback of Florida. But also, number 2, if you were Scott Strickland, you're the big AD coming on in, you get rid of Billy Napier, then people are going to start turning their attention towards you. Now, Strickland since has been given a contract extension, so he is probably more so at ease, and he feels as if he now has some freedom to really operate how he wants to operate. With that being said, though, when the boosters wanted to get rid of Napier last year, and you go to those same boosters this year, and you said to them last year, hey, trust me, instead of paying all this money to buy out Billy Napier, let's give him another year. We have a talented team. We could keep these players. We could win next year. You could invest more money into the program. We could pluck other players from other schools. I could understand surviving 1 year of that. But you have to have results, and those results have to pay off this year. And when you sit here and you open up the season crushing LIU that nobody cares about, and then you lose to South Florida, you lose to LSU, you lose to Miami, and then you put lipstick on a pig by beating Texas, and then you lose to A&M. I get it, the SEC schedule is tough, but the moment you lost to South Florida, that was the nail in the coffin for Billy Napier. And it wasn't a matter of if he was going to get fired from Florida, just when he was going to get fired from Florida. But now you have boosters who these meetings, people say, oh, why are these meetings going down in season? It seems like they're trying to orchestrate a firing of Billy Napier. Well, yeah, duh, that's what the boosters are doing. They're going back to this genius of an AD, and they're saying to him, well, you told us to write checks. We wrote checks last year. Now the checks that we want to write, we're going to determine where those funds are going to go, and it's not going to be to NIL if you want more funding. It's not going to be to go on and out there and supporting the university. We need a new head football coach because Billy Napier is not cutting it. Now, this story comes out before the Mississippi State game. I really think even if they win, it's not as if, oh, my goodness gracious, even though Mississippi State is a better team than Florida, that's a win that saves his job. The next week after that, or they have a bye week, and then they end up playing Georgia. So the timing of it, it does fit in line where if they lose to Mississippi State, I think he's donezo. Even if they beat Mississippi State, I don't think he's going to survive because they're off next week. So it's a perfect time to get rid of the coach, and then coming back in November to start off after the bye week, you play Georgia. So whether you win or lose this week, I think Billy Napier is going to be gone if this reporting is true. But if you do win, then he'll definitely be gone after the Georgia game, because even though Georgia's not looking all that great, and Georgia's ranked 9th in the country, and they have a loss to Alabama, but we haven't seen a real clean product out of Georgia. Their best moment this year was Tennessee. But you look at that game up against Auburn, it wasn't as if they were all that spectacular, and Georgia could lose this weekend, and I think they will lose this weekend to Ole Miss. I would not anticipate Florida beating Georgia. So Billy Napier, he could be in his final days as the head football coach. He probably is in his final days, regardless of the outcome on the field. But if they win, could he get another week or two? Yes, he can. But at the absolute latest, Billy Napier will be gone by November 2nd. Now, I know when Billy Napier's back is up against the wall, he usually does respond well. And that has become kind of a joke on social media. Oh, when Billy Napier hears that he's about to get fired, he turns into Nick Saban. Because you looked at it last year, they were sitting there at 4-5. And I know he got a boost of confidence. But then down the stretch, they beat LSU at the time that was ranked 22nd in the country. They then beat Ole Miss and knocked them out of the playoffs. And they beat Florida State before winning a bowl game up against Tulane. So it's one of those things where last year, Florida finished the season with 8 wins. But everyone knew that team was nowhere close to turning things around. But in the NIL structure and in the transfer portal world, see, this is why I always laugh when the coaches bitch and complain. Oh, it's so tough about NIL and dealing with it. It's so tough for the transfer portal. And I understand those have some challenges. But in a weird way, it buys these coaches a longer leash than they probably deserve, because the AD could sit there and tell the boosters, well, if we fire the coach, we're going to lose this 4-star player. We're going to lose this 5-star player. They're going to hit the transfer portal. They're going to go suck more money out of other schools, and we're going to lose them. So Billy Napier got another year more than what he should have got because of name, image, and likeness, because of the transfer portal. And now this thing is coming to an end because, by the way, you take a look at it, the report from USA Today is Billy Napier could be fired as soon as this weekend. And then you get into the reports that Scott Strickland has met with the handful of influential boosters. I don't think they're sitting there saying, okay, what does Billy Napier need to do to save his job? They're now saying to Scott, we gave you the benefit of the doubt last year. You don't get the benefit of the doubt anymore. We're not asking you to move off of Billy Napier. We're telling you, and we'll threaten withholding funds. If you don't get rid of Billy Napier soon, then we're not giving you money to put back into the program, or we're significantly reducing how much money we'll give to the program, and that will significantly impact long-term until you get rid of this coach, name, image, and likeness, and you'll lose a lot of players because of the transfer portal. And you won't have a lot of players come in to the rate that you can, because if you don't have the funds from us, what are you going to do? So this is it. I feel a little bit bad for Billy Napier just because it's kind of a rotten process that you have influential boosters basically telling the AD you have to go. But Billy Napier, who by all accounts is a nice guy, and I don't know how much I want a nice guy as a football coach. Like, that's the thing. You have nice people that are football coaches, but you have other adjectives to describe them. All I've heard out of Billy Napier is, oh, yeah, he's a nice guy. He's a nice guy. He's a nice guy. He can bring in talent. He's a nice guy, but you got to win games on the football field. And you're not at Louisiana, right? You are at Florida. And you could say what you want about the Florida fan. What Billy Napier has done in his tenure is way below par. Way below par. And it's ugly. It is for a guy that was an up-and-coming young head coach, and he'll go coach somewhere else. You know, he go coach in the ACC, he go coach the Big 12. Maybe it's a non-Power 4 job, but he's not fit for the SEC. He's not fit for the Big 10, and he's been 6-7, 5-7, 8-5. That's what he's been, and now he's 2-4. Simply, he's got to go. If this was year 1, if this was year 2, different conversation. You're now in year 4, where you put lipstick on a pig at the end of year 3, and you saved your job, where really it was DJ Lagway who saved your job, and now there's zero justification whether you win or lose this weekend. People know what the outcome's going to be. We know Penn State's open. We know Virginia Tech is open. We know UCLA is open. There are other jobs that are open as well. Oklahoma State, UAB got fired, and a few others that did open up recently. But Florida and Penn State are going to be the two big jobs that are available. And Penn State will be the biggest job on the market, I would assume. I think Penn State's a bigger job than Florida. That's my take now in the year of 2025. But Florida, you take a look at them, SEC, down south, the history, they're many years away from Urban Meyer. Obviously, there's a long time away from Steve Spurrier. But that's a program of Florida where you look at them, and now they are in that direction of where you ask, oh, when are they going to be back? And we saw it with Texas. Texas eventually returned. We saw it with Miami. Miami is on the precipice of being back this year, now ranked number 2 in the country. There are certain schools that you look at that have these great brands that have won in the past that you sit there and you say, oh, when are they coming back? And then that gets associated with being a mockery and being a joke because you usually don't find a way to win enough games. So you look at someone like a Dan Mullen, who it was time to get rid of. But Dan Mullen, when you look back at his career at Florida, he's 10-3, 11-2, 8-4, then 6-7, and he needed to go. What Billy Napier has done is you got rid of a coach in Dan Mullen, which I like Dan, but it was time for him to go. He had 2 double-digit win seasons. And then in his final year, that team as a whole put up 6. He put up 5 wins. And then after that, you've been 6-7. Then you got worse at 5-7. Then last year, 8-5. And now you're probably heading back in that wrong direction of not getting to 8 wins this year, where you currently sit at 2-4. So let's skip around the room here real quickly, because we know that Florida is going to be open. We know Penn State is open. And there's usually a domino effect here, right? I don't think it's just a coincidence that James Franklin got fired after being a good coach at Penn State. But it was time. And then this is the week where the boosters say, oh, well, James Franklin's now gone at Penn State after a 3-game losing streak. And after they were in the Final Four of the college football playoff last year, you know what? Now we're going back to you, Scott Strickland. Penn State could get rid of James Franklin, but what are you doing? Why are you still hiring this inept head football coach in Billy Napier? Why are you still employing him? So I do think those go hand in hand. And then other programs, right? Because one domino falls, then others follow. So James Franklin fired. Billy Napier right around the corner. And then once Billy Napier gets fired, other programs and other boosters are going to start saying, well, what about our football coach? So let's go around the room. Stu and Samter, give me a job, a big job, or a job that you're curious about that you think could eventually become open by the end of the season.
I'm going to go with Wisconsin, and it's not the biggest of big jobs, but it is a still pretty good job in the Big Ten, and it should be a team that is ranked top 20, top 25 pretty much every year. Luke Fickell, we are in the, I guess, 3rd year of this experience, and 7-6 that first year, 5-7 last year. Now 2-4 this year, 4 straight losses, winless in the Big Ten. Again, it's not an Alabama or Ohio State, but it is a good job, and I think you could win there if you have the right coach.
Yeah, and here's the crazy part, too, with Luke Fickell. That guy took Cincinnati when it was a 14 college football playoff to the college football playoff. And he gets a big job at Wisconsin. And what did everyone say? Home run hire, home run hire, home run hire. And he's been such a disappointing hire. Like Napier was at a smaller school, and it just didn't work out. When you are Luke Fickell and you were able to have success at Cincinnati and then you get Wisconsin, everyone's thinking bare minimum he should win 8-9 games there a year, bare minimum. Well, he's been, as Stu said, 7-6, 5-7, and now is 2-4. And I just don't, do I think Luke Fickell can be a good coach? Yes. But do I think it's ever going to work at Wisconsin? No. And if you don't get rid of him this year, then I think he's a dead man walking next year, and he's kind of a lame duck head coach, similar to what happened with Billy Napier this year, where you got to give us something, and if you don't give us something, then we're going to quickly turn on you, and that could get ugly real quick next year if they do, in fact, bring back one Luke Fickell.
Yeah, definitely. And the other crazy thing with Fickell is that when Brian Kelly left Notre Dame for LSU, Fickell was kind of on that short list of guys that Notre Dame could have hired, and they ultimately went with Freeman, but it could have been Fickell, Notre Dame, and who knows how that would have went.
And then I know it's happened before, but people also talked about when Ryan Day was struggling. Maybe you bring Luke Fickell back home. So those are the names. You go real quickly for maybe being speculated as head coach of Notre Dame and also being speculated as head coach of Ohio State, and then you're at Wisconsin, and now you're going to be out of a job within a year, if not sooner. All right, Samter, who's the school that you like here?
Now, I don't know if this would happen, but it probably should, and that's Mike Norvell with Florida State. Now, I know he signed the extension after he had that big year, and then he went 2-10 last year. They started out great this year, 3-0, especially with that win over Alabama. But now they're 0-3. They've lost 3 straight. They look awful. At this point, if they continue this free fall, he's got a huge buyout. To 85% of his remaining contract. So if they buy him out before the end of the season, he'll get about $62 million, and if they buy him out after the season, it's about $53 million. Which, if you look at what Jimbo Fisher got, if you look at what James Franklin is going to be getting, it's a lot, but it's also not unheard of. It's less than Jimbo Fisher. It's around the same amount as James Franklin.
Sure.
If they free fall again this year after what happened last year, I think Mike Norvell is out.
I'm going to go at Auburn, and I'm going to look at them. Now, they've been screwed by the officials as of late, but their offense is just not scoring enough points. So I look at Auburn. They had a great win to start off the season up against Baylor. All right, then they beat Cupcake Hughes and Ball State and South Alabama. Then their offense wasn't great up against Oklahoma. Then their offense wasn't great up against Texas A&M. And their offense had a good start, but then it wasn't great up against Georgia. Now they're sitting there at 3-3 on the football season. Hugh Freeze so far, since getting back into the SEC, coming over from Liberty, he's 6-7 and 5-7. He's 3-3. I thought he had to get to bare minimum 8 wins this year to keep his job. Is it possible he gets to 8? Yes. Is it likely? I wouldn't say so. They play Missouri this weekend. Then they play Arkansas, who just fired Sam Pittman. They play Kentucky, who they may also fire Mark Stoops at the end of the year. Then they have a very good Vanderbilt team. Then they play a cupcake team in Mercer, and then they play Alabama. So you look at that. If you beat the teams that you're expected to beat right now, which is Arkansas, Kentucky, and Mercer, that's going to put you at 6 wins on the season. So you need then 2 more wins, and you play Missouri, Vanderbilt, and Alabama. Do we think that they're going to be able to win all 3? No. Do we think they're going to be able to win 2? Probably not. Can they win 1? Like, if you get to 7, does that keep your job if I think you need to get to 8? Ultimately, I think they got to go younger, and I do think that Hugh Freeze is not the right guy for the job, and they need to look elsewhere. That's why if I would say to him, if you don't get us to 8 wins, then I'm going to send you packing. 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. There is a new odds-on favorite to be the next head football coach at Penn State. Why I don't think it will happen, but I don't think it's crazy. I'll tell you why next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
You're listening to the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network.
All right, it is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. Patty Boyle going to join us coming up at 3:40 p.m. Eastern Time today. David Pollack is going to join us at 4 p.m. Eastern Time as well. So the odds this early on in a head coaching search are always interesting to me. The other day, Matt Rule was the odds-on favorite, and I looked at who's the odds-on favorite today for the Penn State job, and a new name has emerged, Joe Brady. Now, Joe Brady, when he's only 36 years old, he just turned 36 in September. But the first time a lot of people really knew who Joe Brady was going to be. And Joe Brady, by the way, started his coaching career at William & Mary, where he played. Then he was a graduate assistant at Penn State, which I think is something to just remember. Then the New Orleans Saints, he was an offensive assistant there. But Joe Brady really became a intriguing name when he was on that Ed Orgeron staff where they won a national championship. Go Tigers. Then Joe Brady got paired up with Matt Rule with the Carolina Panthers. And after Joe Brady inevitably got fired, the Buffalo Bills hired Joe Brady to be a quarterback's coach. Then Joe Brady, for the last few seasons, has been the offensive coordinator in Buffalo. So I do think Joe Brady is trending, especially when you're a young offensive mind. He is trending to be a head coach in the NFL. I thought he could have been a head coach last cycle. You look at a job like Tennessee that just opened, why wouldn't you want to pair him with Cam Ward? If somehow Cincinnati opens and he has that relationship with not only Joe Burrow but also Jamar Chase, why wouldn't Cincinnati hire Joe Brady? And there's going to be other jobs that open. If I'm Joe Brady, are you running to go to Miami and team up with Tua Tagovailoa? Probably not. But there's going to be, at the low point, I would say 4. At the high point, probably 7. Like in that range of 4 to 7 NFL jobs that are going to be open. When you look at it, and you know that Tennessee's already open, Miami should be open, the Jets could be open after 1 year, Cleveland may be open, even though I would not get rid of Kevin Stefanski. Then after that, probably no one in the AFC West. The only one that could be a possibility is Pete Carroll. I don't think Pete Carroll's going to fire it after 1 year. Have you even thought about that yet, Stu? No, right?
I have not. Hopefully that doesn't happen, but I guess you never know with the Raiders.
I would anticipate that the Giants do not open. I would anticipate that after 1 year, Brian Schottenheimer is going to be back next year. Everyone's safe in the NFC North. The NFC South, I don't think Kellen Moore is one and done. Dave Canales, it's a possibility, but right now they've been solid at 3-3, so I would say that's unlikely. Raheem Morris now has been solid at 3-2. Could Jonathan Gannon get fired? It's a possibility. So you're in that range of I could give you 4 or 5 jobs that could be open or will be open, and then you never know what surprises happen. So will Joe Brady be a head coach in some capacity this upcoming year? Next year, I think he will be. But you look at Penn State, who's a graduate assistant there, and also, maybe I'll do a little Brian Windhorst fingers. What does this tell you? Also, one of the biggest boosters to Penn State is who? Terry Pegula. Terry Pegula is the owner of the Buffalo Bills. So you have someone who was a GA at Penn State, someone who's coached in both the NFL and college, and Penn State is a massive job. Could Terry Pegula, also with the connections that Joe Brady has at Penn State, the emotional connection, could that be the guy that ends up getting the job? He could. But here's what I'll ask. If you could be an NFL head coach in the year of 2026 or a college coach in the year of 2026, which one would you rather be? Personally, if this was 7-8 years ago, I would say to myself, I'd rather be the college coach. Because the college coach is the judge, jury, executioner. He's the most influential person in the program. Right? It's your way or the highway. You can really put your fingertips all over a college program. In the NFL now, though, I think the NFL game is very similar to college now, where in college now, because of the professional business that we're in, you have to deal with NIL. You got to deal with the transfer portal. And how you used to be able to develop in college is not the same anymore, because you could have a kid who's not ready to play, who thinks he's ready to play, and that kid could be annoyed with this coach, and then he could easily get right into the transfer portal and get more money or get similar money elsewhere. So because of the recruiting and because of name, image, and likeness in the transfer portal, I think it's better to be an NFL head coach now in the year of 2026 than it would be to be a college coach. Where 6, 7, 8 years ago, 6, 7, I would not have said that. Would not have said that whatsoever. But it seems as if it's more stressful to be a college coach than it is to be an NFL coach moving forward into the next year. But then also, I think you get a longer leash. That's it. That's the one argument that I would debate it. I think you get a longer leash in college than you will be in the NFL. Like, for example, you have 2 bad years at Penn State, you'll get a 3rd year. You have 2 bad years in the NFL, usually you don't get another year. So if I'm Joe Brady, I think you got to listen. I think you got to consider going to college. Now, you probably have to leave Buffalo. You would have to leave Buffalo in the middle of the season, and that could be a team that's on the quest to be a Super Bowl contender. I know that the last 2 weeks things haven't gone well for the Buffalo Bills, but look at the AFC. Outside of Kansas City, who really intimidates you in the AFC? Colts are having a solid season. Jaguars are having a solid season. I wouldn't say that those are Super Bowl contenders, though. The Patriots are having a solid season. The Steelers are having a good season, but they haven't won a playoff game since the 2016 season. Are you really intimidated by the Broncos or the Chargers? No. So you look at it, if you're Joe Brady, you have a chance to go to a Super Bowl this year. If you take the Penn State job, you're going to have to go rush to Happy Valley. So there are cases to be made for Joe Brady becoming the next head football coach at Penn State. He was a GA there. Terry Pegula, his current boss, is a massive booster at Penn State. I do think Joe Brady and Pat Kraft would get along. And Joe Brady has had success in the college game and has had success in the NFL. But I'll keep on saying this about Joe Brady. If you had the option to be an NFL coach or a college coach, and he has that option, he will be a hot name come this hiring cycle in the NFL. Why, moving forward into the year of 2026, would you rather be a college coach compared to an NFL coach where you've got the taste of the best of both worlds? You know what it's like to be a very successful assistant at LSU. You know what it's like to be a very successful assistant at Buffalo. NFL game, college game, which game is better on your life moving forward into next year? I think it's easy. I think the NFL is easier to be a head coach now, and there's less to deal with in the year of 2026 than it would be in college. So Joe Brady's got to consider it. Right, it is Penn State. He's the odds-on favorite right now to get the job. It's a behemoth of a job, but I think that he could get an NFL head coaching job, and that's the path that he probably will end up exploring. So can I say that it's inconceivable that Joe Brady will be the next head coach of Penn State? Absolutely not. It's not inconceivable. But am I expecting him to get the job? I'm not expecting him to get the job right now. Samter?
I agree with you as well. And if there is a NFL coaching job opening, there's one that just stands out to me, because when I think of Joe Brady, what's the first team that you think of? When you
LSU. The Bengals, yeah.
If Zach Taylor and the Bengals flub again, I know Burrow's hurt, but with that talent, and you get Joe Brady
and Jamar Chase
to team back up in Cincy, that could be a match made in heaven.
It can be, but we also know management with the Bengals is disastrous. And they're very cheap. So from the outside, I do agree. I've even made the connection. Joe Brady and the Bengals makes a ton of sense if they do, in fact, move off of Zach Taylor. But we know how alignment is so big and organizations are so big with these coaches, and they get very particular and they get very selective. Just look at Ben Johnson when he was the hot name for the last 2 years. So I think we could connect the dots, but it doesn't mean that Joe Brady will connect the dots the same way we're connecting the dots as well. Alrighty, Pat Boyle going to join us coming up in the next segment. David Pollack going to join us at 4 p.m. Eastern time. A lot more football to do. Update time first. Here's Zach.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
And it's brought to you by Advantage Gold. Championships are built on defense, so are winning retirement portfolios. Learn more about Advantage Gold today. Text GOLD to 85545. That's 85545, and see how gold and silver can help protect your retirement. Visit AdvantageGold.com for terms. Message and data rates may apply. The Mariners are halfway to their first pennant ever, holding a 2-0 series lead over the Blue Jays in the ALCS, and Game 3 is tonight in Seattle. After a dominant showing on the road in the first 2 games, manager Dan Wilson excited for the reception that awaits his team tonight.
It sounds very cliche, but you take it one step at a time, and tomorrow night we're looking forward to getting back out there. Taking in the atmosphere here at T-Mobile. We know it's going to be an awesome atmosphere here for baseball. So that's where our focus lies. We get back to work.
George Kirby will be on the mound for the Mariners, while the Blue Jays going with Shane Bieber as they try to cut the deficit in half and keep it a series. Yankee shortstop Anthony Volpe reportedly underwent shoulder surgery for a torn labrum, and former MVP Russell Westbrook will play an 18th NBA season. It'll be with the Sacramento Kings. I'm Rich Ackerman.
The Infinity Sports Network is on your smart speaker. All you have to say is, play Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining.
4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
You're listening to the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network.
Alrighty, it's time to ask the pros. You're the listener gets asked us a question. It's brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Simply tweet your question at INF Sportsnet or at Zach Gelb using the hashtag AskThePros. Be listening later in the show. We might answer your question. You can think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get guaranteed low prices and excellent customer service from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts. O'Reilly Auto Parts. So we have this new relationship with Pat Boyle, as Pat Boyle is going to join us each and every Wednesday at 3:40 p.m. Eastern Time. Pat is about 1 minute and 40 seconds late. And now I see that he is logging on to join this extravaganza. So Pat Boyle is here with us right now. We could go to him. Patrick, hello, good afternoon. How are you? We expect you to be here right on time at 3:40 p.m. Eastern time. What were you doing for 1 minute and 30 seconds late?
Sorry, Zach. I was assuming that you and Ack had to, do something with each other in the break, and that you would, inevitably be a minute or two late. So, my apologies. Won't happen again, Coach.
You got it. It's all right. I just got to hold you accountable. Accountability is a big word here, not only for the show, but also the network. When we get to accountability, let's start off with the Miami Dolphins. What a disaster that was. It's not the fact that they lost to the Chargers. Like, that's not disgraceful that they lost to the Chargers. The quarterback throws 3 interceptions. We know the head football coach in Mike McDaniel is a clown and has no control over that locker room. But then the quarterback gets up there and goes, guys are late to player-only meetings. And at first I'm saying, all right, that's because of the culture that one Mike McDaniel did create. But the more and more I think about it, it means that Tua's voice is not resonating in the locker room. And even though he may be right and his heart was in the right place, he threw all of his teammates that weren't at those meetings on time under the bus. So there's a difference in being bad and a disaster. What a disgrace, though, and what a disaster the Dolphins are, Pat.
Yeah, they are. And, Zach, we all love the word, culture when talking about the NFL. And when a new head coach gets hired, it's all about the culture. Can they change the culture for a team that has done so much losing? Well, Mike McDaniel seemed like he changed the culture, right? Remember those back-to-back years, including the one year they were the number 1 offense in the NFL. And, just goes to show you that they just can't win a game in January in the cold. Unfortunate they had to play the Ice Bowl in Kansas City. But when everything is going well and the offense is humming and Tyreek Hill's not a distraction, Mike McDaniel, he's just a cool guy. He's the chill guy on the sideline with his playbook and his cool plays
and his pen.
And his Gen Z hair curl and his pen and his vape pen, and everything's going great. And yeah, he's gonna say cool things. When things aren't going well, Mike McDaniel isn't just the cool guy. He just looks like the nerd on the sideline. That's what it looks like. A nerd that's got no control over the locker room. A nerd that has not set any kind of culture of discipline, of accountability, of physical play. This defense doesn't know how to tackle. And I know he's not a defensive guy, but he's the one that hired Anthony Brown, the defense coordinator. I'm blanking on his last name, but the Dolphins. Yeah, Weaver, the Dolphins defensive coordinator, who looks totally lost every week there. And then you've got Tua throwing not only his teammates under the bus, Zach, he's throwing his head coach under the bus. Because at some point, the buck's got to stop with somebody, and it's got to stop with Mike McDaniel. If guys aren't showing up to players-only meetings, or if they're showing up late, not only is that damning on the quarterback and the other captains and leaders on this team, but it's also on the head coach. And he could have done it in the locker room, could have done it in-house. He decided to take it public. And I think it was the worst thing possible he could have done.
Yeah, and it backfired and blew up as every former player is basically slamming Tua Tagovailoa over the last 2 to 3 days. And I've always had the ick with Mike McDaniel. I just said, how do you take that guy seriously as a head football coach, even when they were winning? I thought that he was a doormat, and clearly the players are walking all over him. Now, let's get to the Jets. This AFC East. What a disaster. Patriots have things moving in the right direction. The Bills just lost 2 straight. The Dolphins, they don't have a coach or a quarterback. And then you have the Jets, who Justin Fields, I think he's eventually going to get benched. I wouldn't do it for their next game, but I do think it is inevitable that he will get benched because he's just not that good. But this head football coach, Aaron Glenn, he gets to the podium and he has an intensity to him, but he is just throwing it right back in the media's face, which if you're winning games, no one cares if you're doing that to the media. But when you have that arrogance and you haven't won a damn game and you look lost right before the end of the first half, and the fight you elect to pick up against the Broncos is, after the game, when the quarterback was 9-17 or whatever it was, that it's crazy. How dare you ask if the quarterback's going to get benched? This guy, Aaron Glenn, he doesn't look like he's anywhere close to being a head coach. Not a good head coach. I'm just saying a head coach in the NFL. He looks lost.
I will say this, because I want to believe that Aaron Glenn can be the guy to finally turn around the SOJ, the same old Jets. Look, Zach, do we not remember year one of Dan Campbell?
Sure.
He was crying. He was crying after one of the first games when they lost in the final minute. And then they started off, 0-11, 0-11-1. Look at where they are now.
But they don't got the players that the Jets got. The Lions have the players. The Jets, how many overrated players are on this team? I have to hear about how great something. Garrett Wilson's very good. Don't get me wrong. Breece Hall is a solid running back. Don't get me wrong. They don't have a quarterback. And on the defensive side of the ball, how overrated has Sauce Gardner become in the NFL over the last year and a half?
Yeah, to the point where he's whining and complaining that he feels like he gets defensive pass interference calls on him because the Jets have been losing so much. I mean, look, I get it. I understand it. There was some horrendous calls against them in that game against the Dolphins. But also at the same time, you know, this is a team that also cannot tackle for the life of them. That debacle at the end of the first half, that's on Aaron Glenn. That's on Justin Fields, too, because at some point, Justin Fields, if he's looking at the sideline and the rookie offensive coordinator, Tanner Engstrand's not giving him a signal and the head coach isn't giving him a signal, just get your ass up to the line of scrimmage. Say, look, this is backyard football. Give me the ball and everybody just go to the end zone and throwing a Hail Mary. So it's on everybody right now. It's on everybody. There's games where Justin Fields has played really well, and you know that I've been defending him every chance I get, but it was indefensible on Sunday. Although I will say this, our buddy Boomer Esiason on The Fan in New York City every morning, former Jets quarterback, Cincinnati Bengals Ring of Honor Boomer Esiason, he knows a lot more football than I do. He knows a lot more about the quarterback position than I do.
Yeah.
But when I had to hear Boomer Esiason say it was all Justin Fields' fault and slam him for Sunday's loss, there were times he held on to the ball too long against the Broncos for sure. There were also times where he had Jonathan Cooper and Nick Bonito in his face before he even had the ball in his hands. That Jets offensive line was terrible. It is not all on Justin Fields. I get you. Aaron Glenn should not have been chippy with reporters asking about a quarterback change when you have the box score says 9 of 17 for 45 yards. But I think Justin Fields has played well enough that he's not the issue. One game where the defense finally shows a pulse, and now we're going to all of a sudden jump like pack of hyenas on the quarterback. I thought that was totally unfair, and I think Boomer was out of line saying that.
Wow, Boyle taking a bite out of Boomer. Well, let me be clear, Boomer, if you're listening, I'm sure you're not. I think Justin Fields is not a good quarterback in the NFL, so I'll suck up to Boomer Esiason right there. But my problem with Aaron Glenn, this guy's sensitive. And in New York, you can't be sensitive. And the media is eating him alive right now on their... Stop caring what the media thinks and just do what you did in Detroit, and then you got a chance. But I don't think he's capable of doing that. All righty, let me ask you this, Pat Boyle. AFC, NFC. If you had to make a Super Bowl prediction right now, forget about what you said before the season started. I don't even know what your Super Bowl prediction was. Who would you think is getting to the Super Bowl out of the AFC and NFC as this is wide open through 6 weeks of the NFL season?
Well, I'm going to say exactly what I said before the season started. I'm sticking to it, and I'm going to go Packers over the Bills still. Green Bay Packers represent the NFC. Buffalo Bills, this is the year Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills finally do it. This year they represent the AFC. Because tell me, I know the Chiefs look back, and now they're getting Rashee Rice back, and Mahomes looks like an MVP right now the last couple of weeks. Buffalo, they're going through the skids, but when they won the first 4 games of the year, we're all crowning them the best team in the NFL. This is what happens, the ebbs and flows of the season. I think Buffalo needs to get the number 1 seed. I know they've lost to the Chiefs in Buffalo, but I think they've got at least a lot better of a shot if they play the Chiefs in the AFC title game, if it's in Buffalo rather than Arrowhead. So if the Bills get the number 1 seed, I will be doubling down once we get to January that the Bills are making the Super Bowl, but I'm sticking to my prediction. I still think they've got a lot of issues, no doubt. The defense, they're going to get some help back. Matt Milano hopefully can stay healthy when he does come back, but he's a massive miss right now for them. Their rookie corner, Maxwell Hairston Jr., he got hurt in training camp, and so they're banged up. You know, I feel like we don't hold the Bills to the same we don't mention the Bills' defensive issues like we do with the Ravens or like we did with the Chiefs' offensive injuries. They've got a lot of problems, and they're able to make it happen on offense every single week with Josh Allen. He just happened to play his worst game of the year on Monday night, so that's what happens. They only scored 14 points.
But that's the thing. You have Superman. You ask him to be Superman all the time, and you're barely using James Cook. The weapons there aren't good enough right now. Where can the Bills get to the Super Bowl? Sure. But I'll trust Kansas City more than Buffalo. And I still think Kansas City I picked to go to the Super Bowl before the season. I know, big hot take, I had them going up against the Vikings. I don't think the Vikings are going to get there. I would go Chiefs and Lions right now. I think I will trust Kansas City still more to get it right than I will Buffalo.
I'm surprised you didn't pick your Patriots. I'm surprised you don't got your Patriots pom-poms here. Drake May going to the Super Bowl this year.
You wouldn't know this. You wouldn't know what it's like to be a winner in the NFL because you've never been one before. We are still in the building process. We're ahead of schedule. We take it one game at a time, and we're looking forward to beating Tennessee this week and getting some revenge for my dear, dear friend, the great, the immortal Mike Vrabel. Now, I do have something for you. I got a treat for you.
Oh, yeah?
The legendary Psych Mampter. He has sent us a song. He sent us a song when Hickey did this segment, and we played it. We're just going to test the song out. Let's take it away, Stu.
Under the moon of the neon glow, Bad Take Boyle hosts the overnight show. He doesn't wear pants and refuses to yield. He's the #1 fan of Justin Fields. He said the Jets will win this year. Now turns around and says the future's unclear. Boyle makes picks, he's not afraid. I listen to his picks, then I fade. Boyle is here with another network draft. Him and Pete the Body giving Samcher the shaft. Oh, Bad Take Boyle, the new hot take hack. Catch him every Wednesday, he's on here with Zach. That's the real deal, no time for faker. Last year in the NBA playoffs, he picked the Lakers. So here comes Pat, he's no fool. He knows about tennis and pocket pool, but we tune in, we can't look away. Boyle's got bad takes to make your day.
I think it's a good job by Psych Mamter. Your thoughts, Pat Boyle?
I think it was a good song. I mean, it sounds like Mike Posner made a song with Mike Stud. I don't know if shout out to anybody that understands those references.
I know Mike
those
Posner.
musical.
That's about it. The second, who's the Mike Stud? I know Ruben Stud. Remember him from
Mike
American
Stud
Idol?
he's a former college baseball pitcher at Duke, and I think Marcus Stroman has done some stuff with him, but hey, it's like white guy rap. It's good stuff, but it was like 10 years ago.
You picked the Lakers last year, is that right?
I did.
Oh, okay. I was just wondering how accurate. We're serious journalists here. We like to be very accurate. So
look, if they
someone
didn't
sends
get
me
a
song,
brutal
I wanna see
matchup
what
in the
happens.
first round, if they didn't get the very physical Minnesota Timberwolves, they would have won the NBA title.
The Bilotti Samter line was also very good. I thought that was the most enjoyable one right there. If I'm just being transparent.
That needs to be talked about more. The bromance of Pete Bilotti and Mike Samter.
Oh, I don't think it's a bromance. I think it's a feud. I think it is a feud, and you know what? I think Samter's winning the feud right now.
Samter's winning the feud, or Psych Mamter, who made the song, is winning the feud?
Samter's winning the feud. I'm trying to poke Bilotti a little bit, the bear that is Pete the Body Bilotti. Anyway, go CW Post. We love you. There is Pat Boyle, the host of the Pat Boyle Show, overnights right here on the Infinity Sports Network. Make sure you check it out. Patty will do it again next week. Thank you so much.
All right, Zach. Pleasure as always.
There you go. The great Pat Boyle. David Pollack will join us on the other side. We're talking college football when we come on back in 5 minutes.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
Hour number 2 of our radio program. That's right. It is the Zach Gelb Show, coast to coast on the Infinity Sports Network. David Pollack is one of the best voices covering college football. See Ball, Get Ball is the name of his podcast via our friends at Believe. And the former Georgia star is kind enough to join us right now as there is a lot going on in the college football world. David, appreciate the time as always. How you been?
I've been good, man. How you been, Zach?
Well, I've been fantastic. Appreciate you coming on. So I got to start you off with James Franklin getting fired at Penn State. There's a lot of names to emerge in the last 3 days, from Matt Rule to Kurt Cignetti, Eli Drinkwitz. Even today, Joe Brady is now the betting favorite. Is there a name out there that you immediately go, okay, it's fair to be speculated, and I could see him eventually taking the job down the road?
I think there's several of them. I even think Manny Diaz makes a lot of sense after spending some time there and what he's doing at Duke and his energy and who he is. Here's the thing, though. All those names you mentioned, Zach, it's cool, but let me give you a few names. How about Kirby Smart? How about Ryan Day? How about Kalen DeBoer? How about Dan Lanning? That's the list of guys since 2022 who has more wins than James Franklin. So, like, you're getting rid of a guy and paying him a lot of money to go away. I get it. You're disappointed, but a lot of money to go away when this guy won at a high level at Penn State, at an elite level. And so I just think it's interesting. Like, now it's about, okay, are the young up-and-coming guy really going to light your fire? Is that really going to be what Penn State fans says? Okay, that's what we're going to go win a national championship with? Or is it a proven guy? But either way, when you're taking the Penn State job, you understand it. You better get a guy that realizes and understands how to win without the most talent, because you're in a league with Ohio State and Oregon and Michigan. Like, you're not going to be the brand. Like, so the Matt Rule obviously is developed. He's a Penn State alum, obviously has ties to the AD back to Temple. So that makes, a lot of sense. I think Matt Campbell fits that bill where he's built, in the Big 12, he's done that with a lesser roster and has consistently won and been good. You can't tell me that Elko or Kiffin or Cignetti are making that move when they're all in the playoff hunt. Like, I don't see that happening in any way, shape, or form. But obviously Penn State made the decision. They made the decision to win national championships, and now who they going to get that's going to fill that void? I don't see a name that I'm hearing about.
Matt Campbell's an interesting one, and I think he's a damn good football coach. Here comes the but, though.
The but.
Something that scares me. In 2021, when it didn't go his way, there was a reporter that asked him, I remember the press conference because I lost my mind over it. And he goes, the expectation was to win the Big 12 championship. He goes, that wasn't my expectation. My expectation, he said something along the lines, would just be the best version that we can be. When you have now a program like Penn State where it's clear that expectation, Pat Kraft laid it out, is to go win a national championship, I just wonder if Campbell, who's a good coach, a damn good coach, is the right fit for the pressure of that job.
And that's fair. That's absolutely fair. Like, whoever takes this job, you just got to realize walking in, like, being good ain't good enough.
Yeah.
Like, this is a job that the AD talked about. The expectation is to win national championships. That's not a normal job. Like, here's another thing, Zach. How about we stop putting 10-year contracts on these suckers? That would be a great idea. Like, that's stupid business. Like, you would not do that in other businesses. Don't do it as a coach, man. Like, overpay them for the years. Make them prove what they are. Keep them hungry. Like, it's always a struggle to keep your guy. And then now your buyouts are $50 million, or Jimbo Fisher, $72 million. Like, it does. And it worked out for A&M, and they got their guy. And it probably wasn't the sexiest guy, but who did they hire? Just for reference, a guy that had been there, a defensive coach, a great defensive coordinator. Manny Diaz had been there, a great defensive coach, a defensive coordinator, got that energy. So I think he's a guy to look out for.
Yeah, and now David Pollack here with us. Great job, obviously, covering college football, see ball, get ball. Does a great job on Believe. You've known him for years covering college football. But when we just get back to James Franklin, I will be the first one to tell you, I was not the biggest fan of James Franklin, and that's an understatement. The guy is a very good coach. My question just to you, because it sounds like you think that Penn State should have kept him, why did you think that maybe one day he could get them to the top of the mountain? Because he's been close the last few years, but hasn't been able to win those big games.
I think sometimes we say, like, Ryan Day was close to the mountain, and sometimes he didn't get there. Well, he got there, right? Like, here's the thing. You got to be close to the mountaintop to climb to the top of the mountain. You got to climb halfway up the mountain, 3/4 of the way up the mountain, and 80% up the mountain before you get there. Like, it took Kirby Smart some time, obviously, to get there, too. Listen, do I believe James Franklin was a guy that was going to go on and win a bunch of natties? I don't. Like, if you're asking me that, Zach, and I have to be honest, I don't. But I'm just not in the business of firing one of the most successful coaches and giving $50 million away to do it. Like, that just doesn't, to me, make a lot of sense. Now, listen, they can prove us all wrong. Like, you might have said the same thing about Jimbo Fisher. Now, the culture was absolutely toxic with Jimbo Fisher at A&M, and they had to make that move and do something. I don't feel like the culture was toxic at Penn State. It's not my decision, not my money. I'm a cheap person too, Zach, so I'm not giving away $50 million if I don't have to, bro.
Yeah, and one more thing on Manny Diaz, just because I'm a Temple alum. I will say he never lost a game at Temple when Manny Diaz was hired by Pat Kraft because he went back to Miami. But all kidding aside, it didn't work out at Miami. It's working out at Duke. Why do you think if he got that big job like Penn State, you could see him be a vastly different coach than what we saw at Miami?
Because he's learning from what he's doing. Like, Manny Diaz was like, wake up and blitz. Like, that was his answer to everything, right? Like, and I liked it. He's on the practice field and he's in cleats, right? Like, and he's intense. Well, as you get older, man, you get more experience. You learn how to relate to kids a little bit better. So I think that he's grown into that position. He's more comfortable. He knows how to coach it now. He's coached as a defensive coordinator. He sees it from all the different angles now as a head coach. So I think it's just the experience, and I think I got a lot of trust in Manny and who he is. I think he's a grounded person. He's still very aggressive, but he does it in a sounder way than he used to do it. And I just think he's grown to the point now where if I'm a major job opening, I have no problem hiring him.
All righty, David Pollack, before we get to the games this weekend, I got to go off one more coach who's probably on the way out if you read USA Today, and that's Billy Napier. I know how this is going to go because it went the same way last year when there was speculation that Billy Napier could be on the way out. What do you think the chances are that Lane Kiffin would leave Ole Miss and go to the Swamp? Because that's going to be the number one name speculated for that job.
I think it's going to be the number one name. I think if this happened 4 years ago, I think it's a done deal. Like, you could write it in ink. Lane would be gone. But knowing Lane for all these years, man, and I was at Ole Miss last week, like, just he's grown so much and he loves where he's at so much. And so I think it would take a lot for him. You know, his son's there with him now and in high school. And so I just think it would take a lot to leave a job that you're going to win, bro. Like, he's got an elite GM. He's got an elite atmosphere there with Ole Miss. Like, he's winning at a high clip. And the game changing has been the biggest – Lane's been one of the biggest beneficiaries. Like, Lane's not the guy that's going to go kick the curb and go beat the pavement for recruiting. Like, that's not Lane's MO. Now, Lane takes guys and he builds team really well, and he gets to know his guys, but he wasn't always chasing the next recruiting class. Like, that wasn't really his thing. Now it's really simple. Like, hey, I got some dollars. Like, you want to sign, you sign. Like, build out a roster, and Lane gets to go coach. And so, man, I don't think at this point in his life he's going to leave. Now, Drinkowich is a different story, and I think Eli will be a name for both Penn State and for Florida that would do a really, really good job, and I love his style. But it'd be funny, or not funny, but it'd be very ironic, wouldn't it? Like, Eli Drinkowich, if he went to Penn State, again, he knows how to win at a lower brand than the highest brands in the league, right? He's done a good job. He knows how to poke, which I love. And he could bring Bo Pabula, a great quarterback, back to Penn State, which is just, I mean, just to think about it, obviously, is intriguing.
Yeah, and that's a name that I've really jumped on for. I haven't thought about Florida, but it makes a ton of sense. I think John Summer also could be a name to watch for Florida, or even Alex Golish, who beat them earlier in the year. But Drinkwitz, I think, could mesh very well with Pat Kraft, and also the personality that he has. I not only would it mesh in Penn State, I also think it meshes down in the Swamp.
100%. Like, he's got a really cool personality, but like he enjoys being the underdog. He enjoys poking at people. And I love that. Like, I don't mean that in a negative way. Like, he's very comfortable, doing things that aren't necessarily comfortable for a lot of people. A lot of people are like, oh, I got to do it this way. And Drink's like, I'm going to do it my way. He's had a bunch of turnover on his staff. You see his guys get hired all over the place. He fills those roles. NIL, and he's really done a great job with NIL and evolving with the times with the transfer portal. And so he's definitely a guy that has definitely proven he's a really, really good football coach. And maybe if he had the bigger brand and the bigger budget, maybe that's somewhere where he could go and he could be very successful.
All right, get into some of the games this weekend, David Pollack. Ole Miss and Georgia, one that you're going to have a keen eye on. I think Ole Miss, it's weird to say because Ole Miss is ranked higher, but they're the underdog. I think that Ole Miss is going to pull off the upset this week, and I'm rocking and rolling with Trinidad Chambliss.
I'm not on board with you. Now, listen, from what you've seen with Georgia, I get it. Because, my God, are they going to be Rocky Balboa their whole life? Like, you got to taste some blood in your mouth before you walk forward and start winning? Like, they've started slow. But here's the factors, I think, going against Ole Miss. Ole Miss beat them last year, and they beat them bad.
Yeah.
Like, it was kind of embarrassing the way they kicked the crap out of them in the trenches. You've had that to point to. And I think one thing, Georgia at home obviously is a different animal. You played Auburn last week, which is so similar offensively. Like, such a variation of the same offense, the same tempo. I think that helps them coming into this week. Ole Miss's defense is not as near as good as it was a year ago. And I think because of that, Gunner and company will have more success. We'll keep the football. We'll put drives together. And I think Georgia wins at home.
LSU Vanderbilt, I don't think it's flying under the radar, but it may be nationally. What LSU offense shows up this week?
The one that stinks, that shows up every week. I mean, LSU's offense ain't good. Like, to quote the great philosopher Reese Davis, like, I'm always like, how do you say somebody sucks on television? He'd be like, they're ungood. And I'm like, well, there you go. I mean, they're just done good, man. Now, when you watch them, here's what I'll say about LSU. One thing I loved was that they found their go-to weapon last week that they're going to continue to do. Trey'Dez Green at tight end is 6'7", 6'8". Like, he's a matchup nightmare. Like, so when does Nussmeier understand? Like, I'm not the guy that was a year ago that had to carry a team. I'm the guy that has to be carried defensively. Like, this is one of the best defenses in the country. I got to understand, I can't make mistakes. He threw an interception at the 1. They fumbled at the 1 last week against South Carolina, and they still won. Like, ride your defense, use the big tight end for matchup nightmares, throw him the football at will, try to run, don't make mistakes. And I know that sounds weird because coming into the year, Zach, we were like, Nussmeier, one of the best quarterbacks in the country. Okay, we're not there right now. It's a new world. So I need a game manager, Nussmeier, that doesn't make mistakes, that's not thrown into double coverage, that's not turning the football off, that wins situational football because they've been, they've just not been good when it comes to offense and scoring points. It's just been ugly.
Tennessee, Alabama. Alabama now, people are back in. I still think Josh Heupel is one of the more underrated coaches in the country. How do you see this SEC tilt playing out on Saturday night?
I mean, you talk about Bama, and you just talk about, like, the last 3 games, man. Like, and it just continues. Like, 3 ranked opponents in a row. To get up consistently and to win. And this seems like, again, like, okay, you can't do it, right, Zach? Like, you can't continue to get up and continue to play and win. Yeah, you can, because Ty Simpson, that's why. I'll fight you, Zach, if you want to fight, about he's in the conversation for the best player in the country.
Yeah.
Like, and he drives me as a defensive guy absolutely nuts because I watch every game with the philosophy is I want to stop you, and here's how I would do it. That sucker's patient. He feels pressure so well. He scrambles when he needs to, when he understands. He doesn't get hooked on names. Like Bernard's his guy, but he didn't have to throw it to Bernard. Last week he had 3 catches. Like, Ryan Williams had 0, and he still makes it work and made one of the best throws on 4th and 7 you'll ever see in your life to Brooks on a little corner route with a guy trailing him. Like, I just have seen enough with Ty Simpson. Now, Joey Aguilar and company are going to score. That defense for Tennessee is not what they were a year ago. Here's the only way Tennessee can go to Bama and win. The only way is if they can get sacks, which they're good at. They're one of the best in the country. I think they're 26 sacks. They're the second in FBS. Like, the right tackle for Alabama is a freshman. Can you exploit that and get Simpson on the ground and then play zone coverage and not have to blitz? Like, if you can do that, they can hang in the game. But I just think the way Alabama's playing, them being at home, I think is a big difference than having to go to Knoxville. You got to go to Knoxville, bro. You better pack a lunch. So I got the Tide.
And then also their defense is just forcing turnovers right now at Alabama.
Yeah. Hubbard, good
spots.
Lord, he's the guy.
Yeah,
wow,
and the health of Jam Miller is something to watch for this one. All righty, here's a game. You could tell me 10,000 different ways it plays out, and I wouldn't call you crazy for either of them. USC, Notre Dame, both these football teams, I still don't know what they are, but we're going to get some answers on Saturday night.
Yeah, I mean, I feel pretty confident. Like, I'm a nerd, Zach, and I watch a lot of tape. I have nothing else to do in life. I'm a loser, but that's fine. But, like, I've seen enough to tell you this. Last year's offense at Notre Dame was really, really hard to stop. This year's offense is better. And it's not Riley Leonard and his physicality, but C.J. Carr's spinning the bean. Like, that dude, he makes 2 or 3 throws a game, too, where I'm like, okay, that was good. Like, he's seeing the field well. He's spreading it around. I mean, I think people forget. People look at Notre Dame, and they're like, why are they ranked? They suck. And I'm like, bro, they lost by 4 total points to 2 top 5 teams in the country.
Bingo.
And one was an extra point, which you're like, that's bull crap. But back-to-back games, 300 yards. I love the way Malachi Fields' size. I love the way, obviously, Price and Love, the way they run the football. But when you look at this offense, Pollen goes over 100 yards. You're getting your tight end involved. Like, I think this is an offense to watch out for. If the defense can keep coming on, because they turn the ball over. They have 11 picks by 8 different guys. Like, they do that at a high level. So watch out for Notre Dame. They win this game, they're in the playoffs.
Yep.
Like, think about that. Like, and I know everybody buried them and said they were off, and people might be upset about that, but they're going to win the rest of their games, and they're going to be very much in this.
Just one more thing on the SEC. Obviously, you praised Alabama a lot. Are they your pick to win the SEC, or you go elsewhere?
I go Ty Simpson until otherwise. Like, it's just what I've seen from him on a consistent level. And listen, there's other teams that, like John Mateer, when healthy, is that dude, and he could absolutely give them heck. A&M and those receivers. Man, here's the thing about A&M. Like, they are so hard to stop because it's the short passes that can go long with Craver and Concepcion. But then you got a QB that they haven't had to run Marcel Reed. They will. When they need to, they'll absolutely run him. And the defense is like this. Like, it's ticking up and up and up. They started the season a little bit rocky. Get the third down on Mike Elko. Like, you might as well pray. Like, because it is so creative, so good. They know how to take advantage of every protection. You'll have 6 guys blocking. You'll rush 4, and 2 guys are hitting the quarterback. It's like rush hour. It's like, which one of y'all kicked me? You know, like, it's incredible the way he manufactures that. You're right. So A&M, it wouldn't surprise me either, those two. But John Mateer getting back healthy, I think, too, will – because, listen, he was healthy enough to play, but you watch that ball come out, that ain't John Mateer. Like, and Alabama's defense is not – it's not like it used to be. It's not a steel curtain by any stretch. So they could get in some shootouts with those two teams.
Who is the best team in the country, in your opinion?
Okay, so Zach, this is a great question, because if you're asking me who the number one team in the country is, we do it on our show every week. It's Miami. What Miami has done, they're the best team in the country. Like, because to me, you take who have you beaten, right? Have you lost? What is your ceiling? Like, what is the eye test? How good do I think you are? They're checking a lot of those boxes, moving forward, because they've ran a gauntlet that's pretty impressive. I'm impressed with what they've done. The line of scrimmage, man, they got a bunch of guys that don't like people. I love that. Like, I love people that don't love people, right? Like, that are flying around, have bad intentions, or maulers. Like, their right tackle, man, like, dude's 6'8", 360. I think his bone structure is Brontosaurus. Like, that's his bone structure. Like, they're big, huge maulers. They're so good. Now, Indiana's 2, Ohio State's 3. Some people might have that different. I have a common opponent with Indiana and Illinois, or with Illinois and Indiana, and Ohio State and Indiana. Indiana literally said, go sit down at the little kids table and beat them by 50. Like, and it was kind of a game. But here's the thing. All that being said, that's the rankings. That's how I have it. If you ask your boy, Zach, to break out his wallet and put down everything that I own and everything that I have, I'm sliding that to Columbus, Ohio. Like, I'm putting that with the Buckeyes, because I think of where they can go in their defense, and obviously their resume hasn't been the most impressive, though. It's not as impressive as Indiana's or as Miami's up until this point.
He's David Pollack. Make sure you check him out. See Ball, Get Ball, one of the best in the business. We can talk at college football. Check him out via Believe, our friends there. David, great stuff as always. Can't thank you enough.
Zach, you the man, dog. Thanks, brother.
There you go. The great David Pollack joining us on the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. How ESPN let him go is something that I'll never understand. He is just phenomenal when it comes to talking college football. All righty, we'll take a timeout. When we come on back, we'll get into Myles Garrett and some of the comments that he made after their latest loss.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
You're listening to the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network.
Urban Meyer has thrown out a name for the Penn State job. Just saw this. Guys want to take a guess? Stu, Samter? I'll tell you who it is. Who do you think Urban Meyer is advocating for the Penn State job?
Himself.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
You know what? It's funny that you guys said that. I wanted to respond to the tweet. Did anyone ask him if he would be interested? But he was not advocating for himself. So it was not Urban Meyer getting on his own podcast and saying, I want to be the next head football coach of Penn State. If that was the case, that would take over the rest of the show. And I'd be sitting here saying, look at me. I was the one that said Penn State should call Urban Meyer yesterday and see if he is at least interested. And I do think he would be interested. I just don't know if the phone call is coming. You guys want to throw out another name there?
Clark Lee.
It is not Clark Lee. Fine guess.
I'm trying to think of his old stomping ground. So like Kyle Whittingham, but he's getting older. Ohio State, Ryan Day.
Nope. He's not going to throw out Ryan Day. First off, Ryan Day's not leaving up. Yes, there we go. According to On3 Sports, Urban Meyer pitches UNLV head coach Dan Mullen for James Franklin's replacement at Penn State. How about Dan Mullen? Damn right. He is undefeated. Scored 51 last week, and he's from the Northeast, by the way. Dan Mullen's personality would fit State College, but I think he's too similar to James Franklin. Now, I like Dan. Dan comes on this show a ton, but it's ironic that he comes on this show a ton because at the end of his tenure in Florida, I was slamming Dan Mullen because he made a lot of dumb excuses. Just like how James Franklin, when he loses, made a lot of dumb excuses. So could you do a lot worse than Dan Mullen? Absolutely. Dan Mullen's a good football coach. I just don't think that timing is right for him to take over Penn State. But Urban Meyer going to bat for one of his own guys. All righty. We're going to replay you some audio. This was Myles Garrett with us at the Super Bowl, and this was the day or two after he already requested a trade from the Cleveland Browns. We know inevitably he did re-sign a new contract in Cleveland, a very lucrative contract. But this was Myles Garrett with us from Radio Row back in late January, early February on his trade request and why he did force a trade request or, apply a trade request from the Cleveland Browns.
This is all about football. It's not about money or attaining another contract. Just want to play meaningful football at the end of the year, be playing it to late into January and into February, and having that feeling of holding that trophy.
Before we interviewed him, I remember saying this. People say they want to get traded to go win. And then when push comes to shove, they're more about money than winning. And don't get my words twisted. I have no problem. No problem if you're a player playing this vicious sport, if you prioritize money over winning. Fans will always prioritize winning over money. And I could sit here and say, oh, you got to go to the winning situation, blah, 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 blah. But I understand that this is a business at the end of the day. With that being said, though, I have zero sympathy for Myles Garrett. He made a decision. He made his bed. Now lie in it. And let me tell you, when you lie in your bed, even though you're not winning in Cleveland, it's a comfortable bed with all the money that you got. But Myles Garrett is now frustrated. Let's listen up. This was Myles Garrett after another loss to the Pittsburgh Steelers and what he said after the game over the weekend.
It's tough. That's all I can say. No team is going to care that we have young guys. The job is to win, no matter how old you are. Yeah, it's frustrating. It's frustrating. To lose the same way every time, it's frustrating as hell.
I would ask Myles Garrett two things if he elected to come back on the show. And I'll tell you, for a player that made a trade request like that, I was shocked how outspoken he was with us at the Super Bowl about the trade demand, right? He released the statement, laid it out, and he was still talking about it over and over and over and over again with us. And I thought it was one of my favorite conversations actually with an athlete that I've had in the last year. And we have a ton of them on this show. But Myles Garrett, we were kind of told, like, oh, don't ask this, don't ask that. And I'm like, well, then we can't do the interview. And they're like, all right, fine, ask what you want. But the conversation we had, if I had to look back at it, I think he did like that I said, okay, this is probably a difficult decision. You are a Cleveland Brown. I think we forget about the mental side of what athletes go through. And I do believe that opened him up a little bit more because we talked about something that was so personal to him and a sensitive topic and how he could be portrayed as a villain maybe in this. And I think he respected that. And then we had some fun throughout the rest of the conversation. But he made a decision ultimately. Like, if he was still under contract for 3 more years with Cleveland and this was his rookie deal, different conversation. But he had an option to leave. He had an option to leave. And you look at the places that he could have gone to, you don't think they would have paid him the same amount of money, if not in the same ballpark, and he could be in a much better situation? Of course. But once he took that pen and he inked his name right on the paper, and he put his Johnny Hancock on the paper, I don't want to hear now that you're frustrated. We know he's one of the best defensive players, if not the best defensive player in the NFL. We know that Browns defense has been good, but on offense, you don't got anything. It's been the same damn story, not necessarily the defense being great, but in Cleveland, they haven't had a quarterback in forever. You know, I know you could talk about Baker Mayfield, but they ran him out of town too, and Baker was done with the Cleveland Browns, even though Baker won a playoff game beating the Pittsburgh Steelers. But Myles Garrett, when I hear him, people be like, oh, I feel so bad for him. Oh, you know, he should have never re-signed in Cleveland. Well, he did. Do people forget he requested the trade? And he still went back, and after requesting the trade and going through that whole song and dance, he took the money. So when I hear Myles Garrett and I see people over the weekend saying, oh, I feel so bad for him, I don't feel bad for him. He made the decision. I don't fault him for the decision, but he made that decision. So if Myles Garrett was back on the show, I'd ask him this. Do you regret taking the money with the Cleveland Browns? Do you regret it? I think it's a simple question. I know what the answer is going to be. He's going to say no, but internally, the answer has to be yes. Because you could have got that money elsewhere. And that's another thing I would ask him. If he said no, well, you're not in a winning situation in Cleveland. You talked about wanting to be in a winning situation, and that's why you initially requested the trade. Don't you think you could have got that money from, I don't know, Philadelphia or Buffalo or the Chargers, the Chiefs, like whatever the fit would have been, or the Lions? Don't you think you could have got something similar and been in a much better situation? And that's the part to me where I was disappointed in Myles Garrett, is that he went through the contract dispute, said he wanted out for all the right reasons, and then ultimately just took the money. But you can take the money. God bless him. But don't tell me that you want to win and that you request a trade, and then you go back to Cleveland, and now you sound as if you're all bummed out, as if this was something that was inconceivable. Like, I give Micah Parsons a lot of credit. Not that the Cowboys have been as dreadful as the Cleveland Browns historically, clearly. But Micah Parsons said, I had enough. I want out. Requested a trade. Didn't look like he was going to get traded. Then got sent to the Green Bay Packers. He's got it. I'm not saying the Packers are going to win the Super Bowl this year, but he's got a chance. And he got paid. What Myles Garrett wanted to do is what Micah Parsons did. And I have to imagine Myles Garrett sitting back there saying, man, maybe I should have gone the Micah Parsons route. Zach Gelb here with you on the Infinity Sports Network. It is a Wednesday. We will do a Take 5 Wednesday next. I'll give you my top 5 teams in college football and the NFL. Update time first. Here's the Ackman, Rich Ackerman.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
And it's brought to you by Progressive Commercial Insurance, who protects small businesses with affordable coverage options. Quote today at progressivecommercial.com. The Mariners outlasted the Tigers in 5 games, plus another 6 innings. And that buzzsaw kept humming through Toronto, where they posted a pair of wins. Tonight, Game 3 in Seattle, with the Mariners up 2-0. The Blue Jays had been feeling pretty good about themselves, but now they're left with no margin for error. Manager John Schneider said his team has been good about bouncing back from adversity.
It's really, really impressive how they kind of just turned the page to the next day. You know, not thinking about Game 1 or Game 2, not thinking about the flight, thinking about what they needed to do today. And they'll be ready to do it tomorrow.
Shane Bieber and George Kirby are the Game 3 starters. Yankees shortstop Anthony Volpe reportedly underwent shoulder surgery for a torn labrum. Brock Purdy returned to 49ers practice today after sitting out with an injured toe. Soon-to-be 37-year-old Russell Westbrook is coming back for an 18th NBA season, signing a 1-year deal with the Sacramento Kings. And former 6th Man of the Year and Rookie of the Year Malcolm Brogdon abruptly announced his retirement. I'm Rich Ackerman.
This is the Infinity Sports Network. Follow us on Instagram. Our handle is Infinity Sports Network. That's Infinity Sports Network to follow us on Instagram.
You're in a 5-minute break. 4 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
You're listening to the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network.
This Thursday night football preview is sponsored by Square. More than 4 million neighborhood businesses run on Square. To learn more, go to square.com or just stop by your favorite local business. See you in the neighborhood. Square. The 4-1 Steelers visit the 2-4 Bengals tomorrow night. Aaron Rodgers leads the way for Pittsburgh with 1,021 yards, 10 touchdowns, and only throwing 3 interceptions. Meanwhile, in Joe Flacco's debut with the Bengals last week, he had 219 yards and 2 passing touchdowns. Alrighty, it is a Wednesday right here on the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. That means we get to a Take 5 Wednesday, and that means we have to give you our top 5 teams in college football and the NFL.
As the dust settles from last week's games, it's time to look at which teams are rising and which are falling.
And there's an interception.
Zach ranks his top 5 NFL and college football teams on this week's edition of Take 5, only on the Zach Gelb Show.
Alrighty, let's get to it. I'm going to start in college because I think it's easier than the NFL. The NFL this week, when it came to Take 5 Wednesday, I sat there for about an hour. And I said, okay, I know I'm going to put 1. I think I know I'm going to put 2. Then after that, maybe I know who's going to go 3. Sound like Jody Mack there. Maybe I know who's going to go 3. And then 4 and 5, I would say to myself, humana. So let's do college first. We'll bang that out quickly. In at number 5, the Alabama Crimson Tide. Another ranked team, another game that was down to the wire, another victory where Ty Simpson just shows that he's a big-time quarterback. And then also they overcame the fourth quarter injury to Jam Miller. And defensively, they continuously make big-time plays and turnovers in the crucial moments. That game up against Florida State seems like it was ages ago. Since then, especially when you look at their last 3 games, they beat Georgia 24-21. They crushed Vanderbilt 30-14. And then they beat a very good Missouri team at Missouri by a final score of 27-24. Next up for the Crimson Tide is Tennessee. But right now, Alabama is the 5th best team in college football for me. And at number 4, I am going with A&M. I love what the Aggies are doing right now. Their defense is trending in the right direction. Their 2 wide receivers, phenomenal in Concepcion and then Craver. And then offensively, even though he was not 100%, Le'Veon Moss, we all know how good of a running back he can be. And Owens really did step in, and he popped off. And I love their quarterback, Marcel Reed. And I thought David Pollack made a very good point. They haven't had to really run Marcel Reed yet. And we know that's a dynamic to his game that he's more than capable of having a lot of success at. So I think that's just a damn good football team. They have an awesome win up against Notre Dame. You look at their tricky opponents the rest of the way. They play LSU, Missouri, and Texas. You know, there's a chance that A&M is undefeated going into the SEC championship game. They play Arkansas, LSU, Missouri, South Carolina, Samford, and Texas. They're not going to be an underdog in any of those games. Alrighty, so the Aggies of A&M in at number 4. Then in at number 3, how about what Indiana did to Oregon? They were in control. Then it looked as if they coughed it up after that Fernando Mendoza pick 6. They marched right back down the field. They put the ball in the end zone, and they end up saying bye-bye for that last week of college football to the Ducks of Oregon in their own house. Kurt Cignetti and his squad, they are probably going to be undefeated going into the Big Ten championship game, just like how I talked about A&M could be undefeated going into the SEC championship game. I love what I'm seeing out of the Hoosiers right now. And at number 2, it's Miami. I know Miami's going to play Louisville this week, but I look at Miami. They may be the most well-rounded team in college football. And they early in the season beat Notre Dame. South Florida became a bigger game. They still beat Florida, who's a rival of them. They crushed Florida State when Florida State was still humming. I just look at this Miami team. When are they going to lose? Louisville this week, a good opponent. Then they play Stanford. They play SMU. They play Syracuse. They play NC State. They play Virginia Tech. They play Pitt. I don't see why there's a reason to doubt Miami. And then at number 1, it's the defending national champs in the Ohio State Buckeyes. Julian Sayin is good enough. Tate is unbelievable. Jeremiah Smith is even better. And then Downs and company, they have the best defense in the country. So I will go Alabama 5, A&M 4, Indiana 3, Miami 2, and the Ohio State Buckeyes. The world famous Ohio State Buckeyes, as Gus Johnson would say, in at number 1. Samter, speak now or forever hold your peace as I go Bama 5, A&M 4, Indiana Hoosiers in at 3, Miami with the U in at 2, and then Ohio State in at 1.
Obviously, we have Ole Miss, who is ranked very high in the polls right now.
I think they're going to beat Georgia this weekend. I do. Trinidad Chambliss is very good and one of the best stories in college football. But that game was not impressive up against Washington State, and they could have lost it. So that's why I keep them out of the top 5. The LSU win was a good win for them, but it was rather close, and LSU's offense is not all that good. I was impressed with them with the Tulane victory, but outside of that, I think Ole Miss is a very good team. I still don't know if they're a great team. Big test up against a vulnerable Georgia squad. I think they're going to win, but I don't have Ole Miss in my top 5.
All right, now I'm looking at a team that lost to Indiana, Oregon, dropping out of your top 5.
So I think Oregon can get back into the top 5 at the end of the season, but that's a game when Indiana wasn't in my top 5 last week that I have to take them out after losing to Indiana. So that's just the justification why I didn't put them in the top 5. You look at their schedule, it's not like they played a lot of good teams, and they blew out a lot of those teams earlier in the season. The Penn State game, it looked like they were blowing them out, and then the Drew Aller interception just forced the down spiral of what we've seen from Penn State the last 3 weeks. But Oregon is damn good, but that was the game up against Indiana that Indiana just looked a lot better, and I'm only going to put 2 teams in there for now from the Big Ten in my top 5.
All right, I'm looking at the second best team from the Big 12 behind Arizona State. How about Texas Tech?
Well, that's not the way that the rankings are, right?
They're playing each other this week. They're playing each other this week.
Yes or no?
ASU is going to smoke Texas Tech.
Is Levitt playing?
It doesn't seem likely.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Jeff
How
Sims
did
is taking
Arizona
out
State,
Texas Tech.
by the way, look the other week without Sam Levitt? Just wondering. How did they look?
I don't remember Arizona State playing last week. I feel like they had a back-to-back bye.
Didn't they play Utah?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Didn't they play Utah?
They did.
Stu? And it was a blowout, right?
Yeah.
I don't recall, but I'll take your word for it.
So I like Joey McGuire, and I think they have a really good football team. But that's the thing. I think the Big 12 is really good. I don't think they are top 5 great. And that's why I don't have a team for the Big 12 in there. But you look at Texas Tech, their best victory of the season was up against Utah. And then after that, just because you smothered Kansas, it doesn't mean that I'm going to put you in the top 5 yet.
All right, how about Kirby Smart and the Georgia Bulldogs?
Yeah, they lose to Alabama, and their offense just doesn't look that clean. The officials helped them out up against Auburn. They have a heck of a defense. Offensively, I still think they're trying to find their identity. I know they had a great comeback up against Tennessee. This week will tell me more about what I know out of Georgia. I think they're good. I don't know if they're great this year, and I think they're vulnerable, and they're right there for the taking. And that's why I think Ole Miss is going to win this week. But if Georgia beats them, then maybe it's a different conversation next week.
All right, last one, staying in the state of Georgia, undefeated Georgia Tech.
I think Miami is a better team. I love Haynes King. The game, like their best win this year was up against Clemson, and Clemson is no good. So you look at their schedule the rest of the way. When can they really impress you? It's Georgia at the end of the year. Georgia Tech could be undefeated up until then. They play Duke, Syracuse, NC State, Boston College, and Pitt, so they should be. But I'm not sitting there saying they're an elite team yet. All righty, let's get into the NFL. I thought long and hard about the 15. I'm going to go 1 through 5 here because I think it's trickier. In at number 1, I'm going the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They keep on dropping like flies, and they keep on finding a way to pick up wins. And the latest guy that ended up having a lot of success was Tez Johnson, the former Oregon wide receiver, and Baker Mayfield's looking like the MVP. The Colts, they have 1 loss on the season. They're in at number 2. Their only loss on the season was when Adonai Mitchell forgot how to put the ball in the end zone and not drop it right at the 1, and then also take a holding penalty that negated a Jonathan Taylor touchdown. And then they had 10 guys on the field at the end of the game when Tutu Atwell had that long 89-yard, I think it was, touchdown down the left sideline. So I put the Colts in at number 2. I've been holding off on this team, but with everyone that's falling, they keep on winning. I still don't think they're a great team, but I'm putting the Pittsburgh Steelers in at number 3. The Kansas City Chiefs, they are now back. I know that they lost to Jacksonville, but they avenged that up against the Detroit Lions, so I put the Chiefs in at 4. And then in at number 5, I put about 3 or 4 teams in there before I went to this team. But then I said to this team, is losing Kansas City a reason why I'm going to take them out of my top 5? It wasn't. There was some early plays in that game that touchdown getting overturned, that was a touchdown to Jared Goff, and then New York buzzed in and said, oh, it's a legal formation. There are just some things in that game that I didn't think went their way early that kind of took them out of it mentally. But I still think the Lions are one of the more talented teams in football. So Buccaneers 1, Colts 2, Steelers 3, Chiefs 4, Lions 5. That is an ugly take 5 for the NFL. But those are my top 5 teams right now in the NFL.
There's a bunch that we left off that could be on there. How about your Patriots?
The Patriots I know they beat the Bills 2 weeks ago. They played well up against the Saints. I love what I'm seeing from Drake May. They should slaughter Tennessee this weekend. I like the direction the Patriots are moving in, but I'm not going to sit there and say they're a top 5 team in the NFL right now. We'll take it one game at a time. And if they keep on winning, then maybe they can win the AFCs. Maybe they could be in the top 5, but I'm not ready to go there yet.
All right, let's look at the Chargers atop the AFC West.
They came on back up against the Dolphins. That doesn't really do it for me, and there's a lot of injuries with that football team right now. We know Rashawn Slater's out for the year. Amari Hampton is going to be out for a long time, and Najee Harris is done for the year. I just haven't been impressed. I don't think they're a clean football team right now.
Okay, how about the Bills? Back-to-back losses, yes, but still the Bills.
Yeah, they could still be the Bills. Their defense right now is banged up, and it stinks. Offensively, Josh Allen did nothing up against the Atlanta Falcons. They don't have a lot of weapons. I don't know what they're doing with James Cook right now. You need to play him more and get him more on the field. But the last 2 weeks, you lose to the Patriots, you lose to the Falcons. I'm not putting you in the top 5, and they got to get things figured out during this bye week.
All right, so going back out west, how about the Broncos?
After what they did in London, 13-11, barely beating the Jets.
That defense.
Yeah, the defense is phenomenal. Offensively, though, Sean Payton and Bo Nix got to figure it out, so they're not in the top 5.
Okay, let's go to the NFC. How about the defending champion Eagles?
Not with what I've seen from them the last 2 weeks. Jackson Dart just destroyed them. Absolutely destroyed them. So I look at that football team right now. They're leaking, and they were lucky. They covered it up against the Rams. But since then, it has not looked pretty where they blew that lead at home to Denver, and they followed it up with Jackson Dart and Cam Scatteraboo, making them tap out and quit in the game.
Now you have the Lions in there, but you don't have the Packers, who actually lead the NFC North.
Yes, and the Packers did beat the Lions. I just didn't even love what I saw from the Packers last week, if I'm just being fully transparent. And they played the Cincinnati Bengals. It was more impressive. They tied the Dallas Cowboys. They lost to Cleveland. I got to see a crisper, cleaner product for them. They have potential to be better than the Lions. They have potential to win the division. But they got some games the next few weeks where they could get right. Arizona, they just had one against the Bengals. They play the Steelers, but now it looks like a better game. They play the Panthers, who I know are 3-3, but I'm not ready to crown them. And they play the Eagles coming up on November 10th. So I just got to see it look better from start to finish with them. That's why I have them out of my top 5 for now.
So you're saying if you want to crown them, then crown their ass?
What, the Arizona reference there with Dennis Green from all those years ago? Yeah. Was that against?
If you want to crown them, then crown their ass.
That was against the Bears. The Bears are who we thought they were. And we let them off the hook. One of my favorite press conferences of all time. Samter has compiled a list of a lot of people that could be the next Penn State head coach. I will give you my thoughts on each and every one of those candidates. Next!
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
To infinity and beyond. He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
Alrighty, hour number 3 of our radio program. It is the Zach Gelb Show right here on the Infinity Sports Network. I'm going to go a little Omaha here, and we'll audible on the fly. And I think it's going to make Stu scurry a little bit. Do we have music for this segment, potentially? Could we get music for this segment, potentially, where we'll run a little music underneath it as we're going to go through a lot of these candidates or a lot of the people that are speculated. I don't know if they're actual candidates yet, but there's a lot of speculation about a lot of names for the Penn State job, as that's a behemoth job. It's not a top 5 job in college football, but I think it's in that range of, 8 to 13, somewhere in that landing spot, and it's the biggest job that's open. I think even when Florida inevitably opens with this Billy Napier news that you have people that are influential in spending money at Florida, the boosters, they're already meeting with Scott Strickland the other day on Tuesday to basically say you got to get rid of this guy or we're going to withhold funds, blah, 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 blah. You read it on USA Today. So even if Florida opens up, I still think Penn State in the year of 2025 and moving forward is a better job than Florida, and you're taking over a better situation. But we'll get to Florida when Florida officially opens up. It's not a matter of if, it's just when, and that could be as soon as this weekend. But without further ado, I'm not talking about Freddie Adu. Let's get a little music going. And Samter will pile through or will read us off a bunch of names that are potentially being speculated for one Penn State. That's an interesting vibe. I wasn't expecting this, but I kind of like it.
Yeah, baby.
This seems like we're a hardcore sports show. You tune in for sports with Zach Gelb, where we don't talk about ranch versus blue cheese. We don't talk about what snack Samter is going to munch on during the break or what Kush Stew is going to smoke. We only talk about sports. So give me the sports. Sports, 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 sports. It's the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network, where we have no fun and we just talk about sports. That's what this vibe music kind of gives me.
Did you see that Taylor Swift? No, I'm just joking. All right, let's start with now. I have all the names.
Samter, what happened to the baby over the weekend? Heard she made a little doo-doo in her underwear. How was that changing the diaper?
That was fantastic. She's been obsessed with Daddy taking off his shirt.
Oh, wait, you played? Well, you hold on. You say it that way. It's a little creepy sounding. You mean with the whole Cam Scattaboo video that you did when you ripped off the shirt?
On the show.
Yes.
Yes. And now she just says, Daddy, let's go. And that's
so she does the Scattaboo.
Yeah, she goes, Daddy, play Let's Go. And then she starts going, Aah!
Wow. So you're
Very
cute, adorable 2.5-year-old daughter, right?
2.5. Oh, 3 in 2 months, yeah.
Is basically every time Dad comes back from work, Daddy, let's go.
She's all pumped up. She gets me going.
She sounds like Randy Moeller back in the day when he was the play-by-play voice for the Florida Panthers. Ma, where's the meatloaf? Let's go.
Scratch my back with a hacksaw.
Panther score. All righty, give me the names, so I'll stop being a
All right, so I have all the names listed down here. The first name I have is Brady, so I'm assuming that means Tom Brady. No.
That would not be the case.
That would not be the case. Let's go Joe Brady.
So I think there's a lot of reasons to like Joe Brady because he's a former GA at Penn State. Terry Bukula right now is his boss, major Penn State booster. He had a lot of success that one year that he was at LSU, and they won a national championship, and he got credited for a lot of the reason why that team was so damn good. And in the NFL, he's been successful with Buffalo. It didn't work out because he didn't run the football enough in Carolina. But I could see why Penn State would be interested in Joe Brady. I just don't know if Joe Brady's really going to be all that interested in actually taking the job when he's going to be a hot candidate in the NFL pool because Ben Johnson's now off the market. So a guy like Joe Brady is going to be one, and Liam Cohen's also off the market too. So a guy like Joe Brady bumps up the list, and I think he's going to be one of the more attractive names in the NFL world. I'd rather be an NFL head coach right now than a college coach. So that's why I think Joe Brady is an ultimate pass. Not because Penn State isn't interested in him, because he's not interested that much in Penn State.
What about your buddy Matt Rule in Nebraska?
I think it's a possibility. A lot of people obviously reach out and they ask me, is Matt going to take the job? His wife went to Penn State. He went to Penn State. He walked on at Penn State. He grew up in State College and went to high school there. I'm still leaning. And I think it's close. But I went back, and last night I watched Matt Rule's full press conference and I watched Pat Kraft's full press conference. I think Pat Kraft is obviously, they're very close, is clearly interested in Matt Rule. I'm not saying Matt isn't interested, but when I went back and listened to Matt's press conference, I thought I heard a lot of him saying to Nebraska, we are close. This I read through the messaging. I need X, Y, and Z, whatever X, Y, and Z are to be done. And if you give me those things, I'm going to stay. So I think that was a resource push. I know Matt is very happy at Lincoln, Nebraska. Could he leave? Yes. Do I think he's going to leave? If you put a gun to my head right now, I would not feel comfortable because I think it's a true flip of the coin. But I'm leaning that Matt Rule is going to be back at Nebraska next year.
All right, let's move on to some retired coaches. How about Nick Saban?
I think he would say, Pat, I think that's your name, Pat Kraft. I know it's his name, but I don't know if Nick Saban knows his name. Very humbled by the phone call, but I'm good where I'm at right now. I don't think Nick Saban, if he says yes, Penn State, whatever you want, whatever you need, we'll get you in there, coach, tomorrow. I don't think Nick Saban, though, is interested in returning to coaching college.
All right, another potentially retired coach, Urban Meyer.
I think he would be interested. He threw out Dan Mullen's name earlier today on his podcast. With that being said, I don't know if the phone call is coming from Happy Valley. I would make the phone call. I would take Urban Meyer in a second if you're trying to win a national championship, and now that's the goal, clearly, at Penn State, but I don't think the phone call is coming.
Okay, let's go over to another guy ranked number 3 in the country, dominating. He just wins everywhere he goes, Curt Cignetti.
There's a chance. I don't think there's a good chance. And here's a point that no one has brought up. Everyone is talking about Matt Rule's alma mater being Penn State. Who's Pat Kraft's alma mater? Indiana. Pat Kraft played at Indiana. And he was also on Indiana's athletic staff many, many years ago in the administrative department. I think he was an assistant athletic director. So when Indiana is humming at football and you have a job to do at Penn State and that job is the first priority, do you want to become hated by your alma mater? Because if Pat Kraft is the guy that gets Curt Cignetti out of Indiana, you become hated by your alma mater. You got to make the phone call. You got to see if there's interest. And if there's interest, you got to do the tough thing. I just don't know if Curt Cignetti, who's 64, so I think it's a little bit different, is going to leave something that's working right now where he's competing for a national championship and has already won more big games this season than James Franklin won his entire career at Penn State. So it's a phone call that has to be made. Ultimately, I think Sig is going to stay with Indiana.
Now, our last guest, David Pollack, like to bring up this name, Manny Diaz, who is doing very well at Duke after not doing so well at Miami.
I think it would be a fine hire. He was the defensive coordinator at Penn State. Him and Pat Kraft have a relationship. Pat hired him at Temple, even though then he bolted and went to Miami after they introduced him at the press conference. He was not good at Miami. At Duke, he's been good. We saw last year, and now he's off to a 4-2 start last year. But he won 9 games at Duke a year ago. Could that be kind of Mike Elko-ish, right? Mike Elko, who was a DC at A&M, and I know there was Florida in, the whole Florida thing happened. But Miami. So forget Miami for a second. But Mike Elko was at A&M, defensive coordinator, then got the job at Duke briefly, had success at Duke, and then went back to A&M to become the head coach. Could Manny Diaz be the Mike Elko for Happy Valley? It's possible. I just don't think he's a top 3 candidate. I think 3 guys maybe have to say no first before then Manny Diaz seriously gets considered. But there is a lot of history there, so I do think it is a possibility.
Now, Georgia Tech almost beat Georgia last year. They're 6-0 this year. How about Brent Key?
I haven't heard a lot of interest on Brent Key. I think I'm the only one that's been saying it. He would be a phenomenal hire. Now, I know Georgia Tech is his school, and maybe he's going to wait for a big SEC job. Is that a possibility? But you're in the ACC right now. If Penn State is, I think it would be a perfect fit, and I think Brent Key and Pat Kraft would hit it off. I would make the call. I would seriously contemplate hiring Brent Key. I just don't think it's going to happen with the way that it's been speculated so far, and I feel as if I'm the only one pushing it right now.
All right, let's look at one of your boys over at Temple. Now at Syracuse, Fran Brown.
I don't know if Fran Brown is one of my guys, honestly. He was when he was at Temple. I think Fran was annoyed that I didn't put him on a potential head coaching list once because I got a little passive-aggressive DM from him where he claimed, I was just teasing. But we've asked to get Fran Brown on many times. And I have texted Fran. I'm assuming I have the right number, and I've congratulated him before, and I haven't heard anything back. I will say, though, if Penn State hired Fran Brown, I wouldn't oppose it. I just don't think Pat Kraft is doing it. Pat Kraft had a few opportunities, and I think Fran Brown matured a lot. I think Fran Brown is a really exciting coach. I like a lot about Fran Brown. But I think Pat Kraft has had opportunities to hire. I know he's had opportunities to hire Fran Brown in the past, and he's passed. So I don't think he's going to hire him then for a career-defining hire, which this is what it is for one Pat Kraft at Penn State.
How about Clark Lee and Vandy?
No, that doesn't do it for me. I think he's done a very good job at Vanderbilt, and that's a guy that many people thought he was donezo with, and then he's turned around his career trajectory the last 2 years. But I don't think it would be a bad hire, but I don't think that's a top 5 name when you had a football coach, you sure it was 7-6 last year at Vanderbilt, and they became such a big story, and they beat Alabama. Now they're 5-1, and they just lost to Alabama. But I don't think that's an elite hire. And I think Penn State is looking for a great/elite hire.
I don't know if either of these names are elite, but John Sumrall, Tulane, or Golish as well.
I think both are really good young up-and-coming coaches. Golish, we saw the success that he's had at USF. John Sumrall is doing a kick-ass job at Tulane. From what I was told, John Sumrall, who played at Kentucky, he is waiting for an SEC job. That's what I think the feeling is and the sentiment is around John Sumrall. Arkansas, open. Florida, potentially open. Kentucky could be open. Like, you go around with him, there's going to be some movement in the SEC this year. And if Auburn opens up, why wouldn't you hire him? Now, he could go to UNC. That's a possibility. I know that UNC wanted him. And the AD, Bubba Cunningham, wanted him, but then I think it was forced on that it was Belichick. So I don't think I think Summer will be a good hire. I don't think he's going, though, to the Big Ten. I think he's going to the SEC. Golish, I think it's similar. It wouldn't surprise me if he goes to a smaller big school like a Virginia Tech. That wouldn't surprise me. He could easily go to Florida, though. He already beat them once this year. So maybe Florida says, wouldn't it be if you can't beat him? Yeah, it would kind of be. But you'd be stealing him there. So I don't think Golish would be a bad hire. I just don't think it's going to happen at Penn State.
All right, how about the current interim coach who's filling in for James Franklin, Terry Smith?
No. I know he's a Penn Stater. I know Terry a little bit. He was at Temple for 1 year on Matt Rule's staff. I think it was in 2013. He's been at Penn State for a long time. He will be an assistant on whoever the new coach's staff is, I would imagine, but he's not going to be the next head football coach.
All right, a hot name from a few years ago who's been hot and now hot, Matt Campbell.
I said that to David Pollack, and I'll say it again. Matt Campbell is a damn good coach. Damn good coach. The expectation now, though, in Happy Valley is to go win a national championship. And in 2021, it's just something he said that I don't think he could recover from in terms of me advocating for him to go get a job where the goal is to win a national championship. And that was when he was supposed to win a Big 12 championship at Iowa State. They failed miserably. And then he said, those weren't my expectations. My expectations were just be the best us team that we could be in the country. And we could still be that even when they had a lot of losses. That rubbed me the wrong way. Matt Campbell's a damn good coach. But I don't think he's the right guy for the Penn State job.
All right. How about Stu's coach, Marcus Freeman?
You know what that is? That is, you're like an attractive person, right? You're a good-looking person. You're a good-looking dude. And you're in a relationship right now with another good-looking woman. But then the bombshell walks past you. And your tongue is falling out of your mouth. And you're saying, I got to go over to talk. But you may ruin what you have right now. That's what's happening with Penn State and Marcus Freeman. All right, like they're in a good situation. They're in a good spot. They see Marcus Freeman walking by and they're like, ooh, let's go have a conversation. But Marcus Freeman's going to be sitting there. And Marcus Freeman's going to be like, yeah, you're attractive, but you're not attractive enough to talk to me. So you can buy me a drink. I'm going to take your drink. I'm going to drink your drink. And then I'm going to say, keep it moving. Bye-bye. Marcus Freeman's not leaving Notre Dame for Penn State.
All right, we talked about him a bunch today. Eli Drinkwitz.
I think this would be a home run hire. I love Eli Drinkwitz. We got to get him on the show. I've been a big fan of his. And also, I also love yesterday how he's sounding off on all these reports. Notice he never said he wasn't going to be the head football coach at Penn State. So I think there's something to read into there. I don't know if he's going to get the phone call. He should. What he's done at Missouri has been phenomenal. I think he's maxed out at Missouri. I do believe that he could be an SEC coach at a bigger SEC program with what he's done at a smaller school like Missouri. But I think his personality would mesh very well with Pat Kraft. And I do think the personality of Eli Drinkwitz is what Penn State really could be all about. It could really resonate with those fans. So David Pollack said, I'll agree with him. I think Eli Drinkwitz is going to be a candidate at Florida, and I think he'll be a candidate at Penn State. Will he be the number one candidate? That I don't know. But if Eli Drinkwitz gets hired as the next coach at Penn State, I will applaud that and say job well done by Pat Kraft.
All right, how about former Penn State coach, or coach at Penn State, Bill O'Brien?
No.
Bring him back?
That ship has sailed. Bill O'Brien did some good things in what was an impossible situation. I think we're now past, the Paterno family, and you got to be a Paterno guy in order to succeed at Penn State. But that was an issue, and Bill O'Brien was underappreciated while he was at Penn State. With that being said, he was good in the NFL with Houston. I know the ending was very sloppy, but now he's at Boston College, and I know they were in a bowl game last year where they lost to Matt Rule. I was at that game, but now they're 1-5 this year. I think the days of Bill O'Brien getting a elite job or a very good job are done and over with.
All right, our boy Urban Meyer's pick, Dan Mullen.
Too many excuses. He did a fine job at Florida, but too many excuses at the end when they were losing games that they should have won. I think that will do him in because that was very similar to what happened with James Franklin. This is going to be rude to say because I like Dan a lot. If you hire Dan, I kind of think it's the Walmart version of James Franklin. That doesn't sound nice to say for someone that's been very kind to us, and I like when he comes on the show, but I don't think you made that much of a better hire if Dan Mullen is the move there.
All right, let's look at a guy who's also out of the sport, but I don't know how much he's done in the college game, but he loves those young college quarterbacks, John Gruden.
Let me tell you what, man. John Gruden would be interested in the Penn State job. With that being said, I don't think Pat Kraft is interested in John Gruden. I think John Gruden could be a college coach. I don't think he's being the college head coach at Penn State. Let me tell you what, man. That Spider 2-Wide Banana.
Spider 2-Wide Banana sounds like a fun dessert.
There is I don't know if it's open anymore, but with what Stu likes to do, there was a place called Are You Hungry at Penn State. And I talked about this before because they have a certain sandwich called a Fat Itch, but there's a B in it. And it's basically like chicken cutlet with mozzarella sticks and like French fries on it. That was the sandwich at Penn State that is made for the drunky, high crowd over at Penn State. I could see there being a John Gruden sandwich if that place is still open, if he took the job, but I don't think he's getting the job at Penn State.
All right, a couple more. Hot name in the assistant coaching line, Brian Hartline. Could be a name.
That could be a name. I'm shocked he's not a head coach yet. Maybe he's just a guy that is a great recruiter, unbelievable wide receiver coach. Now he's the offensive coordinator at Ohio State. He should be a head coach one day. I'm surprised he's not a head coach yet. Penn State's a huge job. I think you at least got to have a conversation, but there could be some reservations because he's never been a head coach, and I think that Penn State is going to hire someone that's been a head coach before. So I would say you talk to him. Maybe it ends up being your Dan Lanning. Maybe that, and if that's the case, it's great. And we know he can recruit his ass off. I just don't think that's going to be the job that he's going to get offered. I think he'd take it. I don't think it's the job he's getting offered, though.
All right, two more. How about Mike Elko at A&M?
I think it would be a phenomenal hire. It would be. And if we were talking 10 years ago, well, maybe not 10 years ago because what happened at Penn State, but you get what I'm about to say. If you're talking 30 years ago and you said to Mike Elko, right, if let's say Mike Elko was a head coach 30 years ago, would you rather the job at Penn State or A&M? Without question, to be running a Happy Valley. But with the way that NIL is, the resources that he has at A&M, and they could be undefeated in this regular season, I don't think Mike Elko is leaving A&M for Penn State. So I don't think that's going to happen. But make the phone call.
There's one more name that I don't really want to say. I think you know who it is. He's the best coach in the country, the best young, up-and-coming, rising coach of a program that is dormant and ready to explode onto the scene and win a national championship. Kenny Dillingham.
What word did you use to describe that program? Dormant?
Dormant.
What does that mean?
Dormant
I've never heard
means
that.
laying quietly, laying and ready to explode.
How
dormant.
do you spell that?
D-O-R-M-A-N-T. Dormant.
Adjective of an animal having normal physical function suspended or slowed down for a period of time, as in deep sleep. Is that how you meant it?
Or the second definition, temporarily inactive or inoperative. Dormant.
Oh, so it's like they were a doormat at Arizona State.
Not doormat, dormant.
No. But what I'm saying is, so how are you using this?
I'm using it as that they are inactive. They were, as a program,
yes,
a sleeping giant. Dormant is kind of like a sleeping giant. They had the opportunity.
Oh, okay.
Right? That's a program that kids want to play in Arizona. They want to play in that state. They want to play for that school. It's a great program that has money available.
And they were a doormat before Kenny Dillingham got there.
Sure.
Yeah. So having normal physical function suspended or slowed down for a period of time in or as in a deep sleep. Do you think he's using that word the right way here, Samter? Yeah?
Yeah, I think he is.
Okay.
Dormant. You don't know the word dormant? Yeah, dormant.
Okay, so tell me how you're using this word here.
I'm using it so
To
the
describe
word,
Arizona State?
Arizona State has been a dormant
And by the way,
program.
I called Stu Samter. I meant
did.
Stu when I said Samter. My apologies. Go ahead.
ASU has been a dormant program.
They're a
program
sleeping giant.
that has been a sleeping giant,
Okay.
inactive, inoperable, right? Ready to wake up, but not there.
Gotcha. Now you make sense. I will give you, in this long back and forth, a short answer. I would absolutely be interested in Kenny Dillingham. Absolutely. I actually, not that I got into it, but I had to clap back last night at EJ because EJ didn't understand why people are so high on Matt Rule. And I said because he was taking over a program in Temple that was nearly dropped, had him back-to-back 10-win seasons, and had him win a conference championship. And then I said at Baylor, they had a horrible scandal. He could have had the Oregon job. He took the Baylor job, and he quickly turned them around. And that was a job that was untouchable. And now in Nebraska, they're bowl eligible last year for the first time, and they won a bowl game. But they were bowl eligible first time, I think, since like 2015 or 2016. And now they're a 5-1 team. So I was just explaining, why people are high on Matt Rule. So I said to EJ, if you don't want Matt Rule at Penn State, who would be some names that you think are possibilities? And he said some realistic names are Lane Kiffin, Kurt Signetti, Kenny Dillingham, and Joe Brady. Now, I don't think Lane Kiffin is realistic for Penn State. I don't think Kurt Signetti is leaving. I think Kenny Dillingham is realistic. I think Joe Brady is realistic. Shehan Jayaraja, who covers college football for CBS, saw this exchange, and he wrote back to EJ, well, let me give you some clarity here. Kiffin's not gettable. This is what Shehan Jayaraja said. Signetti's not gettable. Dillingham probably isn't gettable and also has 1 year of track record. Brady has no roster managing experience and reportedly didn't like recruiting. Doubt he returns to college. So that is the Shehan Jayaraja take. So we're on Kenny Dillingham still? Is that who we're on? I would hire him in a second, though, at Penn State. And it would infuriate Samter. Is that all we got here for the names? We didn't miss one?
That is it.
Watch, Will Stein will get the job at Oregon.
How about Stu Kovacs?
I think Stu could be a good special teams coach. I think he could be a really good special teams. I would, you know what? If I was running a soccer team, I would hire Stu Kovacs. I'd have him dress up as Ted Lasso and be my soccer manager, right? They're not coaches. They're managers, right, in soccer?
Yeah, they're managers.
Yeah, you would be the manager of my team that plays on the pitch. And I would not want to have to fire you.
Now, do you think Stu would go with a 4-4-2, or is he more of a 4-3-3 guy?
It is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. I have no clue, but we'll come on back next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network.
Wait, this is real news? I thought this was a fake tweet. It's not, though. Oh, wow. I saw this about an hour and a half ago. I thought it was a fake tweet. I thought it was like a Scam Sharania tweet. But it's from Sham Sharania. It's actually him. After 9 NBA seasons, New York Knicks guard Malcolm Brogdon has decided to retire from basketball, he tells ESPN. Brogdon became the 2017 Rookie of the Year and the 2023 Sixth Man of the Year after being drafted number 36 in 2016. Now, you may be saying, Zach, why is that a big deal? He just signed with the Knicks this offseason. So, surprised by that. Very surprised by that, as Malcolm Brogdon is retiring. I got a text from a buddy that sent me that tweet, and I go, oh, that's got to be fake news. I didn't think that. I don't have any reason why he is, but Malcolm Brogdon is now retiring from the NBA. Just real quickly, before I get to this David Carr sound about his brother Derek Carr, I think that's the nail in the coffin for the Brewers last night. You lose game one the way that you did, after you had that crazy play go in your favor, and then in game two, you lose to the Dodgers 5-1. Yamamoto goes a distance. I think that's it for you. And now you go back to LA, down 0-2. I think just as the Phillies lost the first two to the Brewers, to the Dodgers, that the Brewers losing the first two at their home is going to be the same outcome. I know it's 7-game series instead of a 5-game series, but I don't see how the Brewers are going to come on back. And also, the thing that has not been talked about really is Shohei Ohtani. Shohei Ohtani in the postseason. I know the first game he had the 2 home runs up against the Reds. What the heck has he done since? Shohei Ohtani right now in the postseason, from a batting perspective, is batting a $147 with 2 home runs that happened in the first postseason game and 6 RBIs, where 3 of those RBIs came in the first game as well, and 15 strikeouts. So what happens when the Dodgers are winning the World Series? The only team I think that could beat them are the Mariners, who I think will get there. But imagine if Ohtani starts playing like Ohtani. They are winning now in spite of Shohei Ohtani. And if Ohtani ends up waking up, what was the word again, Samter? Go ahead.
Becoming not dormant.
Yeah. If that ends up happening with Ohtani, I think I used that correctly, then they'll easily win the World Series. And the Mariners are up 2-0. Now they go back to their building, and that game is tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern time, Blue Jays and Mariners. Hey, what do you think our colleague Dave Sims is thinking right now? He was a Mariners guy for all those years. And I did it on TV, so he wouldn't be calling these games anyway. But you're part of that franchise for all those years. He takes the Yankee job with the radio, and now the Mariners are 2 wins away from going to the World Series. I have thought about that. Hey, now, maybe we get Dave Sims on at some point, talk postseason baseball. So those are a few thoughts on the baseball postseason. All right, let's hear from David Carr, because when the Bengals were looking for a quarterback, I sat there and I said, don't you have to at least call Derek Carr? And don't you have to see if he's healthy and if he's interested, even though that line stinks? I'm sure if you're David Carr, you would probably think to yourself, I got T. Higgins, I got Jamar Chase. I could go win some games there. Well, here's what David Carr said when he was asked by ABC 30 in California. Did the Bengals approach his brother, Derek Carr?
I can neither confirm nor deny, but I will say that Derek would like to be in a situation that obviously is a team that really needs a guy to come in and take him the long haul. There's a feeling that maybe Joe Burrow might come back at some point this year, or at least try to come back. And I don't know if Derek would feel comfortable being in a situation where, say he was to enter into a team situation where the quarterback was hurt and he drove them all the way in, they got into the playoffs, and then he had to go sit on the sideline. So I don't think Derek would be interested in that scenario, but I think that if a scenario shows itself, which historically those have popped up, Derek will definitely be ready if that situation arises, and the opportunity has to be perfect for him because he is very comfortable in retirement. I will tell you that. He feels pretty good waking up whenever he wants. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, the reporter's like, all right, stop talking. So here's the thing. That's arrogance. Arrogance by Derek Carr. You don't know if you're going to get another phone call, number one. And number two, there could be a feeling that Joe Burrow will be back by the end of the year. But we don't know if he's actually going to be. So wouldn't you bare minimum just walk into that situation? And even if it's 1 year, and I guess you got to figure out what would happen with the Saints and all that stuff. But even if you walked into just 1 year and you ended up playing 9-10 games, you played well, don't you think you'd get a job next year somewhere else? Absolutely. So I don't think Derek Carr should be in a position where he could say no. But it seems like, and I take everything David Carr said with a grain of salt because it's his brother, it seems, though, as if he said no to the Bengals because I guess they wouldn't guarantee him, hey, when that Joe Burrow guy comes back, if he does come back, would I still be playing? So it's funny how a guy that's in retirement and left the Saints, and we still don't know why he left the Saints, you know, I don't think it's just because, this injury happened. Now, he's healthy enough to play, and he wants a long-term job, right? A long-term job. I thought the guy just retired, though. That guy, I said it the day that he walked away, he will 1,000% try to play football again. But you just passed up on an opportunity. News brief next. Update time. Here's Zach.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
And it's sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Your small business keeps you on the go. Progressive Commercial Insurance keeps your policy within reach. With their easy-to-use mobile app, learn more at progressivecommercial.com. The American League Championship Series resumes tonight in Seattle. The Mariners hold a comfortable 2-0 lead over the Blue Jays. The AL West champs barely advanced past the division series, needing a 15-inning win in Game 5 over the Tigers, but they have rolled through the first 2 games of this series, and manager Dan Wilson said his team has responded in the toughest of times in atmosphere.
Obviously, the experience of it's huge, and we've talked about that all along. Just getting your feet wet, getting a chance to get out there and get that first one under your belt, and it does take a minute. And I think the way we've seen our guys adjust to it has been great.
George Kirby gets the call tonight for Seattle, which is 2 wins away from its first World Series appearance, while Shane Bieber starts for Toronto, which is trying to get back into the series. Yankee shortstop Anthony Volpe reportedly underwent shoulder surgery. Malcolm Brogdon is retiring after 9 seasons in the NBA. He was a former Rookie of the Year and 6th Man of the Year. And Russell Westbrook is coming back for an 18th season, signing with the Sacramento Kings. I'm Check.
The Infinity Sports Network is on your smart speaker. All you have to say is, play Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. 15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Hey, this is Howie. And this is Nick from the Backstreet Boys. And you're listening to the Zach Gelb Show. And guess what? Zach is back. All right.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
Oh, my God, we're back again.
All right, it's time to answer Ask the Pros question of the day. It's brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Jerry in Carolina says, Zach, I heard you had David Pollack on, and I heard him said that Miami was the best team in the country. Do you agree? Well, he said Miami was the best team in the country now. He says for the rest of the season, if you asked him who would win the national championship, I think he said it was Ohio State. I think Ohio State's the best team in the country. That's just my opinion. The Big Ten is better than the ACC. Nothing against the ACC. Miami has had no problem beating big-time programs this year. But I don't think we've seen the best version of Julian Sand. I think he's fine. Tate and Smith are unbelievable. That defense is great. I think Ohio State's the best team in the country right now. That would be my answer for that. You can submit a question by tweeting at INFSportsEd or at Zach Gelb using the hashtag AskThePros. Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get guaranteed low prices and excellent customer service from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts. O'Reilly Auto Parts. News brief time. Let's get it.
Extra, extra, read all about it. Extra, extra, read all about it.
Time for your daily news brief. We get you caught up on the rumors, reports, and reconnaissance from the day in sports.
Alrighty, so Jonathan Gannon had an interesting moment at his press conference today. He was asked about not having all of his players and what's that like managing those emotions when you don't have all your players, and has he learned from some other situations in the past that has helped him get through that? This is what Jonathan Gannon had to say.
Coach, how early in your career did you have to start trying to figure out how to take the emotion out of coaching, as far as when you have all these injuries and you have all these different pieces? When's the first time that you can recall that?
2007, when our quarterback went to jail.
And he's clearly talking about Mike Vick. Now, Jonathan Gannon is 42 years old. I thought he was younger. Not that that's old, but I thought he was like in his 30s. I didn't realize he was coaching in 2007. He was a defensive quality control coach in 2007. Oh, my goodness gracious. Now, on his Wikipedia page, it said he was there in 2007. It doesn't have anything until 2012. So what happened from 2007 all the way through 2012? Where the heck was he? So in 2009, Gannon was hired by the Rams. In 2000, Gannon was hired by the Falcons, defensive coordinator, followed by Petrino, blah, blah, blah. He's promoted to pro scout. Yeah, I guess it doesn't really, in 2009, Gannon was hired by the Rams as a college scout. He's promoted as a pro scout in 2010 with the Rams. So there was a layoff there, and I guess that's what he was doing. All righty, let's hear from Tua Turn the Ball Over. Tua Tagovailoa. Shout out to Craig Carter for that little line. I think that was Craigie. But he had 3 interceptions, then threw all of his teammates under the bus for not showing up to these player-only meetings. Tua thought that he was trying to hold everyone accountable, right? That's the way that I thought. But when you throw 3 picks and then you say people aren't showing up for meetings, it's not a good look on you because you're the leader of the team. You should get them to show up to those meetings, and you're airing out those grievances publicly. Never a good thing. Well, Tua, it's a mess the Dolphins are. Tua had to apologize for his comments today. Let's listen up to the apology.
I've made a mistake, and I'm owning up to that right now. I've talked to guys on the team about it, talked to the leaders about it. They know my heart. They know that the intent was right. But no matter the intent, the intent can be right. But when things get misconstrued or however the media wants to portray it, that leaves a void of silence and a lot of questions for the guys on our team. Now, being 1-5, we talk a lot about, all right, we got to get this going. We got to get this going. Come in excited to go to work, forget about the noise. And I feel like I just added onto that for for our guys. You know, for myself, I got to look at myself as the leader, protecting the team. I don't feel like I did that to the best of my abilities. I felt like I let the emotions of the game get to me after the game. You know, that's something that I can learn from as a leader on this team. And what happens in-house should be protected. None of that should have gotten out. And so want to publicly apologize about that, want to move forward, and now want to focus on the Cleveland Browns.
The Dolphins dominate the podium. There is not a team in the league that dominates the podium better than Mike McDaniel and Tua Tagovailoa. Oh, my God, that's not nice. I thought he was well-spoken there, unlike his head football coach there. And Mike McDaniel. Oh, my God. What a disaster. What a disaster the Dolphins are. There's a D in disaster. There's a D in Dolphins. What a disaster the Miami Dolphins are. I like a good rant. Let's hear Tony Rizzo, ESPN Cleveland. He went off on Myles Garrett.
I don't feel sorry for Myles Garrett.
I don't
Stop
either.
with this crap.
Stop
He's not
with
a
this
leader.
crap.
He's a hired gun here for money. And he wanted to leave your city and your team. End of story. Am I wrong?
No, Riz, you're exactly
what goes through your
right.
mind? What goes through your mind? I don't know, every Friday when the direct deposit goes into my checking account, that's what goes through my mind.
If he's going to talk like this, Riz...
the ass-kissing of this guy is insane. Boy, are you getting the Tony Rizzo show today, man.
Tony Rizzo show today.
Tony Rizzo today? You're getting Tony Rizzo.
You got it,
As
Tony.
if you were at my house.
Riz, if Myles Garrett wanted out so bad, he should have stood by his demand.
What? What are you talking about?
What are you talking
Myles
about?
Garrett was a no-show yesterday.
No
He
show.
never plays well against the Steelers. Rarely. Myles, where the hell were you yesterday? That's my question. I don't give a crap how many sacks Myles Garrett has. Not here for Myles Garrett. I want to win.
That's awesome. I respect a good rant. Tony Rizzo, phenomenal at ranting. Let's hear Jamar Chase. Is this game this upcoming weekend up against the Steelers, tomorrow night on Thursday, is it a must-win?
Been hearing this 5 years I've been here. I've been hearing it every week. Something y'all say a lot out here. You know, I mean, at the end of the day, we know we got to win. Certain games, we know we got to beat division teams for us to put ourselves in position to be number one in the division. But, you know, at the end of the day, we got to actually put the work in and do it when it's game time.
All righty, let's go to Aaron Rodgers. So Cam Hayward is calling this matchup between Aaron Rodgers and Joe Flacco tomorrow, the Icy Hot Bowl. I love that. Here is Aaron Rodgers responding to Cam Hayward's remarks.
Oldest quarterback's playing this week. Let's go. Woo! Icy Hot Bowl. I love it.
All right, we'll open it up for questions here from the media.
Aaron, what do you think about maybe the novelty of two 40-year-old quarterbacks going against each other, 40-plus quarterbacks? Thank you.
There we go. Get that right there. Yep. Come on, Bert. You got it. There we go. The novelty? Yeah, I think it's great. Great for all the old guys, you know.
He seems thrilled, let me tell you. Let's hear more from Aaron Rodgers. He calls out the Pittsburgh Steelers field.
First half drives stalled, but thankfully Boz, took care of those kicks before the field got borderline unplayable. So that was nice to get those touchdowns in the second half.
And Cam Hayward not a fan of the field as well in Pittsburgh.
Honestly, I lost one of my teammates, and kind of makes me sad about it.
Do you still like the grass over the turf, even if it's 20?
I like grass, but that wasn't grass we played.
What can you guys do differently to make sure?
I can't do anything. So
I mean, the team, though, the stadium.
I'm not a landscaper. I'm not going to ask like I am, but hopefully it's handled by the next time we play.
So the field's a disaster there. Big Ben Roethlisberger chimed in. I feel like every time Big Ben opens his mouth, he makes a headline. This is football with Big Ben Roethlisberger. I think that Big Ben should be on a network broadcast, if you ask me. Here is Big Ben on the players complaining about the field.
There's been issues with it before. Players have talked about it before. We've all been out there when it's just a sand base. It just gives out so easy. I don't know what the solution is other than, in my opinion, either we've even said this, what about just getting Bermuda?
Mm-hmm.
It grows dormant. Who cares?
Yeah.
At least you got put on the practice field. At least you got something, because our practice fields are about the same way.
Really?
They tear up and it's terrible. You can't have a professional football team, not just the Steelers, but the opponents, play on a surface like that.
Yeah.
Because you're paying them a lot of money, and if people get hurt, it's not a good thing. I don't think Pitt should play there anymore.
Pat Narduzzi, your thoughts. 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. How would you spell Deion, Stu, as in Deion Sanders?
D-E-I-O-N.
Yes, that's what you would think. Well, Deion Sanders was on the New Heights podcast, and he reveals that he actually is supposed to spell his name a different way.
Is it true that your name is actually spelled Dion, D-I-O-N?
Where you guys getting this stuff from?
We got some good researchers.
That is true.
That's true.
It's true?
Wow.
That's true. But let me tell you what I did.
Okay.
You know, a kid going to school, learning how to spell, and we all learn the song. If I say the first part, you got to finish the second part.
Okay.
Old MacDonald had a farm.
E-I-E-I.
D-I-O.
Oh, yes.
E-I-O. So it was D-E-I-O-N. I got it from Old MacDonald.
What?
On my birth certificate is D-I-O-N, but I've always spelled it D-E-I-O-N.
You know how bad you got to be to just change your name and people just go along with it? They just
That's so good.
Right here, Mr. Sanders.
That's amazing. So his name is D-I-O-N, but everyone, and he spells it D-E-I-O-N. And it's because when he was a kid, he was like, Old MacDonald had a farm. E-I-E-I-O. And when he heard that E-I-E-I-O, he's like, oh, my name's spelled D-I-O-N. No, I want to go D-E-I-O-N. I was trying to figure out how I was going to spell that right there for a second. Oh, my God. That's some story. Arch Manning on being called a failure so far.
I feel like I try to do my best of blocking out the noise, and then you get 100 text messages. Keep blocking out the noise. Like there must be a lot of noise. So yeah, I try my best.
Were you aware that there's someone who were calling you one of the biggest flops in college football, and how did you deal with that?
Yeah, I didn't know that. I guess I do now.
Thanks,
Yeah. No, I mean, look, I wasn't playing well, and I'm going to continue to get better, but everyone has their own opinion, and that's what's good about America. So you get to freedom of speech. So it doesn't bother me.
What did it do for you when a guy like Michael comes out and says what they're going to say about you now, QB1 on IG? Like, how does that kind of help you out?
Yeah, I didn't see that either. I think it's important to not, you can't ride the highs and lows. You got to stay even and keep going.
The follow-up should have been, what about Bijan Robinson going on that Zach Gelb show and sounding off on anybody that said that Arch Manning is a bust right now? It's easy to root for Arch. I know he's not had a great season. It was good to see him manage the game well and have that confidence up against Oklahoma and Red River. And Texas should win again this weekend as they're going to Lexington to go up against the Wildcats of Kentucky. That will do it for the Zach Gelb Show on a Wednesday. Big thanks to Pat Boyle. Big thanks to David Pollack for joining us. Big thanks to Stu. Big thanks to Samter. And most importantly, big thanks to each and every one of you. Larry Fitzgerald will join us live on the show tomorrow. We'll talk to you then at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific time. Have a great night. I'm Zach Gelb. I'm out. Bye-bye. Peace.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining.